Ladies and gentlemen, it is Monday, November 17th, 2025, and here's what's coming up on the Owen Report today. Well, after what was a pretty wild weekend, it all ends up right back here on the Epstein files. So the back and forth between President Trump and Thomas Massie this weekend, which we will get into that as well. I'll show you the statements from President Trump's camp as well as Marjorie Taylor Greene and Thomas Massie in this little Republican Party feud that is going, I don't know, is it fair to say it's gone nuclear yet? It's on the verge, if it hasn't already. It's on the precipice. So we'll give you all of that. And then Trump decides, well, let's just make it all about the Epstein files. So, this is going to be wild to watch how this all plays out. So Thomas Massie and Marjorie Taylor Greene, who had a big principled issue on the Epstein files, major issue as far as the administration is concerned with getting the Epstein files and the changing of the narrative. And then it turns out, after all of the infighting and Trump attacking them, Trump says, okay, I'll make sure the Epstein files are released. Isn't it funny how that worked? The whole thing is a little funny, but we're going to break it all down. And then President Trump today with the statement on the Epstein files, he says, we're going to deliver no matter what. He says, we are going to deliver no matter what happens in Congress. So we'll be looking at that and then some statements from Trump as well. Now, Trump did have some meetings at the White House today. Some of this came up. But then there's some legal issues. There are some legal issues with the Comey case. There are some legal issues with who's going to prosecute it. The new lead attorney that Bondi just put in charge, Jay Clayton. Some people have issues with him. Others think he's trustworthy. You can wait and see what happens yourself. The continued issue with Trump bombing Venezuelan drug boats. They've now claimed over 80 lives with more than 20 strikes, including another one this weekend when President Trump sat down for the press interviews. He said that he's going to be talking to President Maduro, hoping he doesn't have to label Venezuela a terrorist state or a narcotic state, teasing that direct strikes on Venezuela could be in the picture. That doesn't sound so good. And then we got more stories. It comes back to Pam Bondi. More stories, the disaster that has been the Department of Justice under Pam Bondi. As the left-wing protests continue, by the way, in the streets, obstructing law enforcement, obstructing ICE. This was supposed to end. We've got some other financial news. No, the economy, not the greatest ever. Although I will say gas prices were down in Texas today. How about that? Noticeably down. I think it was about 30 cents down since I last filled my tank. So maybe we are getting a little gas price relief ahead of the holidays. Another individual that was freed by Trump who had a sentence commuted has committed another crime and is going back to the big house. So that's 2 weeks in a row. Somebody that President Trump has freed has committed a crime and will be going right back in. We got some other geopolitical news out of Brazil, out of Ukraine, out of Mexico. And yes, out of Israel. Not as much today, but a little bit. And then I'm hoping to have time to finally visit this issue on digital influence campaigns and why I've been calling these out for a long time and why I think others may soon join as the issue with fact and fiction, what's real and not, what's organic and what's bought and paid for, continues to persist. All of that and more on the Owen Report today.
This news update was brought to you by OwenSchroyer.store, the official site for Owen Report merchandise.
What am I drinking right now? What is in my mug right here, in my golden mug that I'm about to take a sip of? What is it? You know what it is. It's a cup of coffee from blackoutcoffee.com. But even more specifically, it is the premium instant coffee. Now, why am I drinking the premium instant coffee right now? Well, because it was about 5 minutes before showtime. I'm finishing up my prep, and I'm sitting there, and I realized I didn't have a cup of coffee. Obviously, I didn't have time to brew a pot. So what am I going to do? What is the solution to my problem? It's premium instant coffee from blackoutcoffee.com. Full-flavored coffee instantly. Who doesn't want instant coffee? What coffee drinker out there right now listening to this, if I just say, would you like a cup of instant coffee right now? Say, yeah, I'd like a cup of coffee instantly. That's what they deliver. Premium instant coffee from blackoutcoffee.com. If you go to blackoutcoffee.com/Owen, use coupon code Owen for 20% off your first order. Try the premium coffee. Try their bags of coffee. You know, I learned something new about coffee this weekend. I can't even believe it. I'm going to have to tell you the next time I'm telling you how great Blackout Coffee is. I learned something new about coffee this weekend. I'll tell you about it probably tomorrow. But this was my conundrum today. 5 minutes till showtime, no cup of coffee. There was only one possible solution, and that was the premium instant coffee from blackoutcoffee.com. The official coffee of the Owen Report. Remember, go to blackoutcoffee.com/Owen and use coupon code Owen to get 20% off. That's right. Take advantage. 20% off with coupon code Owen on your first order.
On the cutting edge of news and analysis, the Owen Report with Owen Schroyer.
All right, it really was a wild weekend. It really was a wild weekend, and it was tough for me not to just go all into the fray with the wild weekend that was. And, you know, if you follow me on X, that's usually the most you'll hear from me on the weekend. I don't usually go live. I try to maintain some level of sanity by not living in the political insane. It'll make you insane. It'll make you lose your mind. Many of us are witnessing that. Won't do it here. But, man, it was tough. I got to tell you, it was tough. I even had some content that I recorded that I didn't release just because I didn't want to enter the fray this weekend. But it was a wild one. It was a wild one. And I go back to something I said right after the election. It stands to this day because you can try to make sense of the craziness, whether it's from this last weekend or whatever's going to happen this week. You can try to make sense of the craziness, but the most important thing is for you to know the what. That's the most important thing for you to know, the what. The what do you stand for? The what do you care about? And the what that's happening right now that actually matters. So a lot of that kind of gets lost in translation over the weekend, and especially with how toxic these news stories now and how divisive right-wing politics has become. Sometimes you just got to step away. Let the crazies have it. Just let the crazies have at it and go out and enjoy, hopefully, some nice weather. I don't know what it's like. Apparently, it's getting cold right now in some parts of America. It's getting warm, actually, now in the South. They're expecting record high temperatures. I'm here for it. I'm ready for it. But, all right, so we're ready to go into the craziness here. Logical consistency. That's what I'm looking for. Logical consistency. And if you're looking for that from this administration, we're having problems. We are having problems with logical consistency. And now it all comes down to the Epstein files yet again. Yet again. And at the end of the day, results are what matter. Results. Are we going to get the Epstein files or not? Is the elite pedophile network going to face justice or not? Don't tell me it's a hoax. Don't tell me it's been all transparent. These things don't add up. These things are not logically consistent with what we've seen or what we've heard from this administration. But Trump getting into it with Marjorie Taylor Greene. Now, and Thomas Massie. I'm going to kind of just go through this. We'll just kind of breeze through this, the statements that were made, why it's relevant, and where we think it goes. But I have to wonder, is it just that there's nobody in there telling President Trump, pump the brakes? Is there nobody in there telling President Trump this is not a winning issue? Does he not care? Is he just pile driving through it because he feels at the end of the day he knows what's best and he really doesn't care what other people are saying? You got to wonder. Because it doesn't make much sense to most of us why he would be going after Marjorie Taylor Greene and Thomas Massie. Now, the simplest explanation, you go with the KISS method, keep it simple, stupid. The most glaringly obvious answer to this would be it's the lobbyists. It's the lobbyists that now control President Trump, specifically the foreign lobbyists. And they don't like Thomas Massie, and they don't like Marjorie Taylor Greene. And they don't like them because they won't take their money and they won't be beholden to their agenda. But now that they have President Trump in their back pocket, Trump is now a weapon that they can use against the likes of Marjorie Taylor Greene and against the likes of Thomas Massie. So fine. Fine. We all know how politics works. We get it. Trump took the big donor money. Trump acts as the big donors want him to act. Fine. Okay. Okay. But when I watch MAGA attack those that want to remain principled, when I watch MAGA attack those that want to remain logically consistent, this is one of those issues that really shows where this movement has gone. Logical consistency be damned. Principled policy be damned. Results be damned. It's whatever Trump says, I wave the pom-poms. Whatever Trump does, I do the high leg kick and wave the pom-poms. Doesn't matter if it doesn't make sense. Doesn't matter if it's not what we wanted. Doesn't matter if people have a legitimate issue with it. Trump says it, and so therefore it's gold. Of course, this is how a cult operates. We're now flirting with this territory. Now, I do have to wonder, trying to make sense of it from the Trump aspect, I don't know if it's as simple as saying it's just the donors. I don't know if it's that simple. That would be the simple solution, but I don't know if it's that simple. Maybe there's other things at play here. So here we go. Trump decides to open it up against Marjorie Taylor Greene. Lightweight Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Brown, green grass turns brown when it begins to rot, betrayed the entire Republican Party when she turned left, performed poorly on the pathetic View, and became the rhino that we all know she always was, just another fake politician, no different than Rand Paul Jr., Thomas Massie, who got caught being a full-fledged Republican in name only. Make America great again. Now, to me, this is just political mudslinging. This is political mudslinging from Trump because the donors that bought him own the Republican Party and they want to defeat Massie and Greene. That's what this is about. That's the simplest explanation. It's the most obvious explanation. And it's exactly what's happening. Now, if there's other factors at play, okay, but this is still what's happening. But let's address this bit by bit. Tell me what. See, words have meaning. And this is where the right is becoming like the left. This is where MAGA has become just like the left. Words have meaning. Trump says Marjorie Taylor Greene betrayed the Republican Party. Explain to me exactly how she betrayed the Republican Party. Because she's loyal to her policies? She's loyal to her promises to her constituents? Marjorie Taylor Greene remains very popular in her district and will not lose an election. So how does Marjorie Taylor Greene betray the Republican Party? Somebody explain that to me. Trump says she turned left. Where did she turn left? What policy did she turn left on? What idea? What value? Where is any example of Marjorie Taylor Greene turning left? Just because she parts ways with being loyal to Trump does not mean that she's turned left. Where is a turn left? I see no existence of either one of these claims from President Trump. I don't see Marjorie Taylor Greene betraying the Republican Party. It doesn't exist to me. I don't see Marjorie Taylor Greene turning left to me. It doesn't exist to me. Now, if Trump wants to say she betrayed me because she won't be loyal, fine. If Trump wants to say she turned left from loyalty to me, okay, fine. But that's not left politically. That's just, she's just turned away from being loyal to you. Words have meanings. Performed poorly on The View? I guess that's just a matter of opinion. I think the numbers would say otherwise. And by the way, the numbers are in, President Trump. The numbers are in. Your approval rating is down. And Marjorie, and I guess you really don't have to think about elections, but so I guess that's mutual. Neither one of you is too concerned about the next election. Marjorie will win just fine. You don't have to run. But I do find it funny that I see a lot of these voices on the right attacking Marjorie Taylor Greene for going on The View. You know that people have been going on The View forever, right? You know that Marjorie Taylor Greene is not the first person from the right or the Republican Party or the conservative movement. You know she's not the first one to go on The View, right? You know Donald Trump and his family has been on there too, right? Oh. Where's the logical consistency? She became the rhino. Well, we'll address that in a second. A fake politician. Again, Mr. President, everyone looks at you like a fake politician now. And this is what I'm saying. It's like, where is this voice in Trump's ear? And maybe it's there and he's ignoring it. I don't know. But where is this voice in Trump's ear? Mr. President, you are the one that looks fake right now. Mr. President, you are the one that looks like another fake politician. Marjorie Taylor Greene looks like the real deal. And I guess she has the political acumen or instincts, or she's just going with her gut, whatever it is. She sees now Trump is now the totem of fake politician. So if she wants to go after Trump to go after the fake politician totem, then right there it is. She won't be the last. But these are the optics. Agree or disagree? These are the optics. Trump now looks like the fake politician, and Marjorie Taylor Greene and Thomas Massie get to look like the anti-establishment representation of the American right. Rhino? You know what we used to use the word rhino for? Neocons. And you know what the neocons do? The neocons like to start wars. The neocons like military aid and foreign entanglements and bombing foreign countries and foreign wars. That's what the neocons like. And that's what we used to call rhinos, Mr. President. And that describes you now, not Marjorie Taylor Greene. These are the optics. This is how America feels. And nobody in your circle seems to be warning you that that's how most of the country feels now. He goes on to attack MTG. Says he's withdrawing his support and endorsement So how much money is AIPAC going to pour in to the next time Marjorie Taylor Greene is up for re-election? What do you think, 20 million? Is it going to be another 20 million job like they're trying to pull on Thomas Massie? Maybe 40 million? We got to get the America First candidates out of there. We got to get the America Only candidates out of there. We got to get the true conservative patriots that care about this country more than anything else out of there. And now Trump is part of it. And he just uses this whole thing to attack her. I don't even need to get into all of it. Then he goes after Massie. Did Thomas Massie, sometimes referred to as Rand Paul Jr., because of the fact he always votes against the Republican Party, get married already? Boy, that was quick. No wonder the polls have him at less than 8% chance of winning the election. Anyway, have a great life, Thomas, and blank. His wife will soon find out that she's stuck with a loser. This is just pathetic. I'm sorry, but this is just pathetic. How many times has Trump remarried? And he's going to go after Rand Paul? Rand Paul did not break his wedding vows. President Trump did. President Trump broke his wedding vows. Rand Paul Jr. It's working, President Trump. Thomas Massie did not break his wedding vows. Till death do us part. His wife died. Either way, this is lowbrow. Either way, you should be above this. Either way, this is just pathetic. Polls have him at a less than 8% chance of winning the election. What the hell is that? You want to talk about fake polls? You want to talk about fake news and fake polls? That's about as fake as it gets right there from President Trump. Lowbrow, low blow, fake news. But let's look at a rhino. The Liberty Review, powered by the Conservative Review, the Liberty Score, powered by the Conservative Review, they judge politicians on their Liberty Score based off of how they vote. Who do you think scores better on the Liberty Score? The Republicans that Trump has waged war against, Marjorie Taylor Greene and Thomas Massie, or the Republicans that Trump endorses, like Lindsey Graham and Randy Fine? Who do you think scores better on the Liberty Score? Well, the answer is obviously Marjorie Taylor Greene with an A+. A 100% Liberty Score for Marjorie Taylor Greene. That's who Trump is against. That's who Trump is posturing himself against. Thomas Massie, 96% Liberty Score. Lindsey Graham, endorsed by President Trump, been in office since 2006. Never seen a war he didn't want to send somebody else's kids to die in. He's at a 43%. That is an F. Lindsey Graham is at an F in the Liberty Score category, an F. And so who does President Trump endorse? He endorses the F-graded Liberty Score Republicans, and he attacks the A-graded Liberty Score Republicans. Make of that what you would like, but those are the facts. Now, we've got more from President Trump here. What he said about Massie outside of Mar-a-Lago, or just arriving at Mar-a-Lago, what he said about Massie and what he said about Marjorie Taylor Greene, and then also what he said about Maduro and Venezuela as that situation is heating up. And then he has offered new opinions today, as of today, a new opinion on the Epstein file. Now he's for the Epstein file. So it went from, where all have we gone with this one now? I'm kind of all over the map. We've gone from, we will release the Epstein files, to phase one of the Epstein files, to the Epstein files are a hoax, to it's the Democrats, to I'll release them no matter what. We've been all over the map. We've been all over the map, and maybe now we finally reached a conclusion. I don't think so. I have to be honest. I don't think so. I think they're setting this up for Trump to try to move to release the Epstein files, and then the Department of Justice is going to come in and shut it down and say, oh, we can't do that. There's an ongoing investigation. And then Trump can wipe his hands of it and say, well, I tried, but the investigation is ongoing. That's just my prediction if I'm looking into the crystal ball. But we've been all over the map. But you know what you don't want all over the map? You don't want your testosterone levels all over the map. You want them high. And if you're a male past the age of 30, you may have heard that your testosterone levels decline 1% a year on average after you turn 30. Now, this is on top of the fact that men's testosterone levels on average are half of what they were 50 years ago. So you're just compounding the issue. Testosterone is more than just your manhood. It's critical for mental clarity, mood, sleep, and overall vitality. That's why I've teamed up with the Patriots at CHOQ.com. That's CHOQ.com. They have formulated a blend of natural herbal supplements that boost your body's natural testosterone production. Just one ingredient in their male vitality stack has boosted free testosterone levels more than 50% in just 3 weeks. And right now, you can get 25% off your CHOQ subscription for life. Just go to CHOQ.com, spelled CHOQ.com, and use the promo code Owen, and you will get 25% off any subscription for life. Cancel anytime. Coupon code Owen. CHOQ is made in America, and their all-American customer service team is standing by to assist you. So go to CHOQ.com, CHOQ.com, use promo code Owen, or you can give them a text or call anytime, 50-CHOQ-3000. That's 50-CHOQ-3000, and they will be standing by to help. But, you know, you can also go to CHOQ.com. Go look at the Male Vitality Stack or the Ultra Male Vitality Stack. You can look at the ingredients for yourself. You can do your own research. But the team at CHOQ already has, and they put together the best formula we can find. Go to CHOQ.com, use coupon code Owen to get 25% off your subscription for life. So let's listen to what President Trump had to say about Massey and Marjorie Taylor Greene, as well as some other issues over the weekend. Let's go first to Trump talking about Thomas Massey.
So a guy like Massey, his poll numbers are showing he's at 6% approval rating right now. And we call him Rand Paul Jr. because he never wrote.
I mean, folks, that's just absurd. I mean, again, it's like, who told President Trump that Thomas Massey is at a 6% approval rating in his district? You know that they just tried to beat him the last time he ran. You know that AIPAC and everybody else just spent millions of dollars to try to unseat him in the last election cycle and failed. You know that just happened. There's no 6% approval rating for Thomas Massey. There's no 6% poll for Thomas Massey. I say no such poll exists. And here's the President of the United States. Who is telling you this, President Trump? Did you just pull this number out of your ass? Is somebody else telling you that these are the numbers? It's a fair question. We want you to be the honest one, President Trump. We expect you to be the honest one, the transparent one. And you come out here and tell us Thomas Massey is polling at 6%. You're just lying. Who is telling you this? Who is telling you to tell us this? It's embarrassing.
He never votes for the Republican Party. So they're using Jeffrey.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Thomas Massey votes based on constitutional principles of freedom and privacy and property. You know, our rights. You know, the job you were sworn into to defend our rights, that one. And now you talk just like a politician. And that's what, to me, President Trump is now. He's just another politician. This isn't the Trump from the first administration. This isn't the Trump from the campaign. This is Trump, the politician now. He's acting purely politically pragmatically. I'm not even sure if he has any political values, quite frankly. I don't think he does. I think he aligns with the Republican Party. I think he has his own agenda. I think he has his own ideas that he's trying to do. Or maybe he's sold some real estate as far as that is concerned, as far as agenda items and priority. But to me, President Trump is just another politician now. He's just another politician playing politics. And I think that statement right there is your indicator. That statement right there is what removes all doubt. Just listen to it one more time. Just listen, because words have meaning. Listen to what he says about Thomas Massie.
And we call him Rand Paul Jr. because he never votes for the Republican Party.
Good. We don't like the Republican Party. The Republican Party sucks. What we like are representatives that actually do their job. What we like are representatives that try to defend the United States of America, that vote based off of their oath to the Constitution, that vote to protect us and our Bill of Rights. That's what we like. We don't like people that vote for party loyalty, President Trump. You just endorsed Thomas Massie, as far as I can tell. I know you think this is an attack on Thomas Massie, or maybe this is some sort of reverse psychology game you're playing. Are we in 69D chess here? I don't know. He doesn't vote for the Republican Party. Good. The Republican Party is corrupt. Don't you get it? Remember President Trump from 2015, 2016? You used to be like us. What happened? What we're looking for are loyalists. What we're looking for are people with blind loyalty to party. It doesn't matter what the party does. If the party wants to blow up 5 countries, and we want Thomas Massie to vote for it. If the party wants to give another $100 billion in foreign aid, then we expect Thomas Massie to vote for it. If the party wants to make sure you'll never see the Epstein list or the JFK files, whatever else, if the party says you'll never see it, then you'll never see it. And Thomas Massie tries to vote against the party. We want party loyalists. Really what we want is party cultists. We want you in the cult. Okay, I'm the cult leader. Do what I say, and if you won't, we got to get you out. Got to get rid of you. You're no good. That Thomas Massie, freedom score, A+. Republican Party score, F-. And that's what we're all here to protect, is the Republican Party.
So they're using Jeffrey Epstein as a deflection from the tremendous success that we're having as a party. So a guy like Massie,
I love that one. Oh, the tremendous success. That's exactly how it is. Don't you know? When you're that successful, you have to tell people how successful you are. When your party and your administration is that successful, you have to make sure you're reminding everybody how successful it is, because that's how it goes. So there's his attacks on Thomas Massie. He then moves his aims, his sights to Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Her life could be at danger because of the rhetoric.
Her life is in danger? Who's that?
Marjorie Taylor Greene, she says.
Marjorie Taylor Greene. I don't think her life is in danger. Frankly, I don't think anybody cares about her. Okay.
So President Trump says, I don't think anybody cares about her. He has said Marjorie Taylor Greene more times this weekend than anybody else. He mentioned Marjorie Taylor Greene more times than Mike Johnson this weekend. He mentioned Marjorie Taylor Greene more times than Chuck Schumer this weekend. He mentioned Marjorie Taylor Greene more times than Hakeem Jeffries this weekend. He mentioned Marjorie Taylor Greene more times than Mamdani this weekend. But nobody cares about her, but you can't stop talking about her. But nobody cares about her, but you're going to help fundraise to get rid of her in the House. But nobody cares about her. He's just a lying politician now, folks. He's just a lying politician. And hey, look, before the Trump loyalists and the people on the right that still want to wave the pom-poms and do the high leg kick start freaking out, calm down. Try to slow your heart rate a little bit. Take a deep breath before you start to spaz out. We know you're having issues right now. Just take a deep breath. It's okay. Oh my gosh, he said something negative about Trump. My heart starts racing. Oh my gosh, he said something negative about Trump. My temperature's going up. Just take a deep breath. Just relax. It's okay, buddy. It's okay, little buddy. It's going to be all right. Trump is still the best we got. Trump is probably still the best we've maybe had in modern American history. All right? So, see, all right. Are you feeling better now? It's all right. Does that lower your temperature a little bit? Does that relax the heart rate a little bit? Trump is still the best we've ever had. Oh my God. I mean, I could have sworn I thought you were going to say something bad about Trump. I thought, oh my gosh. Well, yeah, he's a lying politician now. He is. He's just lying to you, folks. I'm sorry to tell you. He's a politician now. He lies like the rest of them. It's a lie on its face. Nobody cares about Marjorie Taylor Greene. You keep talking about her. You're trying to unseat her. So you obviously care about her. You obviously think a lot about her. Again, it's like, well, is this all reverse psychology? Is Trump trying to hand the next election to Thomas Massie and Marjorie Taylor Greene? Because that's what he's doing. So maybe it's all intentional. Maybe Trump's a bigger genius than we anticipated. Because that's all Trump is doing. Trump is, if Thomas Massie and Marjorie Taylor Greene want to run for president, and they want to run on the results that this administration does not come through on, and they want to run against Republican Party politics, you are handing them the 2028 nomination, however they want to team it up, however they want to slice it and dice it. If they want to if they have the desire to run for president, you are handing it to Marjorie Taylor Greene and Thomas Massie. So part of me's glad. Part of me's like, I prefer those individuals' politics now to President Trump's anyway. So it's a good thing. It sucks that Trump has turned into just a normal politician that lies to us now. But that's what I'm saying. It's like, how can you, folks, this is just a bold-faced lie. Listen.
Life is in danger.
So he says, like making fun of her because he doesn't believe her life is in danger.
Rhetoric.
Her life is in danger. Who's that?
Marjorie Taylor Greene. She says.
Marjorie Taylor Greene. I don't think her life is in danger. I don't think.
So let me explain something. And this is, I'm not surprised, Tom. I'm not surprised Trump doesn't understand this. Why would he? But maybe somebody could update him. President Trump, your loyalist cult has actually become the most, maybe the most dangerous. It's on the rise. The left is still more dangerous, generally speaking. The left is still better organized, and they move as a group, and they kind of do like group terrorism. President Trump, your loyalist cult has now become as extreme and radicalized as the left, and they actually are extremely dangerous now. It's actually happening. And I don't blame you for that. And I don't blame you for not knowing that. I'm just telling you because apparently nobody else will. Mr. President, I can guarantee you that your cult followers are definitely trying to threaten Marjorie Taylor Greene and ruin her life because she's not the only one they're doing it to. It's now becoming commonplace in extreme right-wing politics to dox anybody that goes against Trump and to try and destroy anybody who goes against President Trump. And I have been on the receiving ends of these threats. And I am not the only one. And there are many out there who have just gone silent or decided not to speak about it anymore because of the threats that they've received. So no, actually, President Trump, it's very real. There is now a radical right Trump cult that will try to dox you, smear you, libel you, defame you, and try to destroy you, just like the woke left has behaved for 8 years. Now there's a woke right faction, a Trump cult political faction that is acting just as deranged as the radical left. And I don't think it's your fault, but President Trump, absolutely, when you put your sights on Marjorie Taylor Greene, your cult followers did the same thing. And these people are unhinged. They are unhinged. Now, I look at this from a psychological standpoint. And I think, why? Why are we seeing this phenomenon? A strong right wing that was populist, a strong right wing that was diverse, A strong, big tent right wing that got in and got the House and got the Senate and got the White House and had a common agenda. What went wrong? How did it go so bad? Well, number one is, I guess there seemed to be some confusion on what we wanted. I guess there seemed to be some confusion on what we voted for. I thought we were draining the swamp. I thought we were arresting the deep state. I thought we were going for true generational reform of the United States politically. Doge, the elite pedophile arrests, I thought that's what we were getting. Well, that's not what we got. And it turns out the majority of people thought that's what we were getting. That's what the majority of people thought. Now, there's some people that are still holding out, thinking we can still get there. There's some people that have completely abandoned ship. There's other people that are just kind of lukewarm about the whole thing. And then there's the Trump cult. So what does this lead to? This leads to denial. So why do you have this psychotic break in the right wing? Because there's a lot of denial. They know that this is not what they voted for. They didn't vote for 20 strikes on Venezuelan drug boats. They didn't vote for Iran strikes. They didn't vote for more foreign aid to Ukraine and Israel and the rest of the world. They didn't vote to try to cover up the FBI Epstein list or whatever the hell else. Just the whole thing. Nobody voted for this. It's not what we voted for. We didn't vote for Pam Bondi to be a completely ineffectual attorney general. We didn't vote for the Republican Party to sit idly by as these judges, these corrupt judges, continue to shut down the agenda, specifically on illegal immigration and deportations. So there's a level of denial. And denial leads you in, can lead you in a couple different directions. It can just lead you to just acceptance and just go with whatever the leader does. So that kind of enters the Trump cult territory. It's like, well, okay, yeah, this isn't what I voted for, but you know what? I trust Trump. So whatever he's doing, I trust it. And then there's the level of denial of they really know this isn't going the right way. They really know this administration has not done what it was supposed to do, but they're in denial about it. They can't accept that that could be the case. So they turn their support levels up, like a rejection of reality. So it's like, they know deep down that this administration is letting them down. They know deep down this administration is not delivering on its promises, but they're in denial. So they ratchet up the support to try to bury that, acceptance. They ratchet up the support in their denial. And this also leads to hatred of the people that are trying to shatter that, trying to destroy that denial and say, no, open your eyes. This is the real world. So they lash out. And then you have the last category, which is the dependents. There are many in the media today that depend on Donald Trump. They depend on access. They depend on access to the White House. They depend on access to exclusive information, press events, members of the administration for interviews. They need that access. They need it. They're dependent on it. So they can't go against President Trump. Their access granted them by President Trump is too important. And this kind of blends with the MAGA Trump personality complex. There are many people in the media or the social influence world, political influence, digital influence world. They've built an entire personality off of Donald Trump and MAGA. An entire following, an entire online persona. Well, if Trump goes sideways, if the dream goes sideways, if the movement goes sideways, well, what does that leave them with? Their entire persona is MAGA. MAGA can't break up. So they'll pretend MAGA exists forever. Trump can't be bad. I built my entire personality off Trump. I built my entire political career and livelihood off of supporting Trump. Trump can't be bad. That's bad for my business. So they ratchet up their support. So this is why you're here. Now here's Marjorie Taylor Greene talking about the threats. I'm now being contacted by private security firms with warnings for my safety as a hotbed of threats against me are being fueled and egged on by the most powerful man in the world, the man I supported and helped get elected. Aggressive rhetoric attacking me has historically led to death threats and multiple convictions of men who were radicalized by the same type of rhetoric being directed at me right now. This time by the President of the United States. As a woman, I take threats from men seriously. I have a small understanding of the fear and pressure the women who are victims of Jeffrey Epstein and his cabal must feel. Oh boy. These are fireballs now. These are fireballs that are doused in gasoline and lit and being lobbed towards President Trump now. As a Republican who overwhelmingly votes for President Trump's bills and agenda, his aggression against me, which also fuels the venomous nature of his radical internet trolls, many of whom are paid, this is completely shocking to everyone. My phone is blowing up with constant, amazing support. I'm so thankful. The political industrial complex and the toxic, violent nature of American politics must end. Our country is worth saving, and it can only be done if we pull together and save ourselves. MTG's response. Thomas Massey went on ABC this week over the weekend to respond to some of these attacks. Here's what Massey had to say.
The president's gone after you in some deeply personal ways. I mean, attacking you over and over again, even attacking you for regarding your wedding, your recent wedding, which, by the way, congratulations. What do you make of all that? And he's obviously supporting your primary opponents. I mean, what kind of retribution are you facing?
You know, my wife told me, she said, "I told you so. We should have invited Donald Trump. He's mad that he didn't get an invitation." So we're taking it with a grain of salt. He's being a bully or trying to be a bully. And they're trying to beat me here in Kentucky. But here's what's interesting. The people financing this campaign consist completely of 3 billionaires, and they're all in the Epstein class. In fact, one of them is named in Epstein's phone book, not the secret files that the FBI is keeping, but in Epstein's phone book. So it's a small world. Dogs don't bark at parked cars, and we are winning. I'm not tired of winning yet, but we are winning. And not only the speaker, but the attorney general, the FBI director, and the president himself and the vice president, they're taking a big loss this week because after months of fighting, I am winning this week with Ro Khanna. We're forcing this vote, and it's going to happen. I would remind my Republican colleagues who are deciding how to vote, Donald Trump can protect you in red districts right now by giving you an endorsement. But in 2030, he's not going to be the president, and you will have voted to protect pedophiles if you don't vote to release these files, and the president can't protect you then. This vote, the record of this vote, will last longer than Donald Trump's presidency.
When Thomas Massey makes predictions like that, he's rarely, if ever, wrong. Now, that's a bit of a, that's a long ways away, you could say, 2030. But when he makes raw political predictions on developments inside of D.C., he's rarely, if ever, wrong. And from my view, what he just said is just true. They want to get reelected. They know a Trump endorsement or the lobbyist, everybody else behind Trump, they know that that's going to be important to win another reelection. It takes a lot of the pressure off of them. It puts a bunch of wind in the back of their sails. And Massey is hitting here saying, hey, this is going to be permanent. So maybe this is why they changed face. And this is why Trump is trying to take it over to relieve these Republicans. Again, it's all about results. Let's see what the results are. But that was your mistake, Thomas. You should have invited Trump to the wedding. What were you thinking? This could have all been avoided. So now Trump wants the Epstein files. Now, this was over the weekend. We do have a statement from Trump today, but this was over the weekend on the Epstein files.
Senator Massey says he's concerned that the Epstein probe you are calling for could be a smokescreen to block the release of more files. Is that the case?
Well, I don't want to talk about it because fake news like you. You're a terrible reporter. And fake news like you, they just keep bringing that up to deflect from the tremendous success of the Trump administration.
Massey says he's
Oh, there it is again. Yeah, if it was so successful, you wouldn't have to be saying that every day and every night. It would be apparent. It would be inherently obvious. But it's not. And you've actually had to buckle on the tariffs badly, which is not all a bad thing. You know, I actually fully support what you tried to do with the tariffs, and I fully support your vision there. I see it. I'm with President Trump on that. Unfortunately, it looks like China has us in checkmate, folks. That's what it looks like. It looks like China has us and maybe even the world in checkmate as far as trade is concerned. So there's only so many moves Trump can make before every move has been tried and he realizes that it's checkmate. And that's why they relieved a bunch of tariffs this weekend and prices are going to go down before the holidays. A lot of stuff has been sitting at port and now the prices are going to go down because he relieved tariffs on a bunch of different countries and a bunch of different goods that are going to be coming in ahead of the holidays. And he was forced to do that because he couldn't beat China at trade. And that's not his fault. Past administrations, past Congresses, they let China get us in checkmate. They let China get the world in checkmate. And now Trump, I think, has tried just about every single move. They may have some other moves up their sleeves, but it looks like they're going to hold until next year. You got a lot of financial reports coming out in the next month or two. You'll probably have another Fed decision. So there's going to be a lot of developments now between now and next year. And then he might get back to the table on tariffs. But he did a massive tariff break. Every move he made, the Chinese put us right back into check. Goods have been sitting at port for weeks, some for months, because they can't afford to pay the tariffs. Now Trump ended them, and these goods are coming back in, so prices will go down. So I don't blame Trump for trying. He tried, but China just has us in check because we've been sold out. So I don't think you're going to see too much movement on the tariff stuff as far as Trump's agenda is concerned until next year after the holidays, because it hasn't been effective yet and the prices aren't going down yet. So before the holidays, I think he's going to relieve more tariff relief, everything. But, you know, and this is what I talk about with people that I'm just convinced have no social life. If you go out and talk to any business owner, talk to somebody that sells goods, talk to somebody that owns a restaurant, just talk to people and you'll find out that, yes, this is exactly what's happened. The tariffs have hurt them. Now, they're not against President Trump for doing it. They understand why he did it, but it hurt us, unfortunately. I don't blame President Trump for that. I support what President Trump is trying to do. I see his vision, but China has us in check. And there's going to be probably years worth of stuff that we have to do domestically before we can actually get into a trade war with China. And now everything hangs in the balance of what's going to happen with this AI development. What's going to happen with all these manufacturing and production facilities that Trump has promised to bring back that they're not, folks. They're not. It was an idea. It was a handshake. It was an agreement. But where are they breaking ground? Where are they breaking ground? Where are they hiring 5,000 people to run a factory starting out 80 grand a year? Where is this happening? No, actually, some of these companies that pledged billions of dollars are now going to the federal government and they're saying, hey, we don't have the money. It's like, well, you said you were going to invest. Well, we don't have the money. So we can't really do the investment if we don't have the money. Honestly, NVIDIA and Tesla and Musk companies are pretty much propping up the entire thing. NVIDIA and Musk's companies are pretty much propping up the entire thing right now. Most of that stock bubble is just that, a bubble. And until the manufacturing and the production centers where there's ground broken and the investments actually come in and the jobs start getting hired out, it's going to just be a bubble and it could collapse at any minute. And that's why Trump did the tariff relief. And he'll have to get back to the negotiating table next year. And he might have more leverage against China if he would stop with the war in Ukraine and he would stop with the wars in the Middle East on behalf of Israel. He might actually have more leverage on the global stage to do this, but because he can't break from the military-industrial complex, because he can't break from the intelligence agency's proxy wars, because he can't break from the Israeli lobbyists, now he's playing from behind because he has to prioritize those things before he can trade. So back to the Epstein files. So then Trump says this, after it's a hoax and everything else, and Massey and Green are bad because they want the files, and now he says, as I said on Friday night aboard Air Force One to the fake news media, House Republicans should vote to release the Epstein files because we have nothing to hide, and it's time to move on from this Democrat hoax perpetuated by radical left lunatics in order to deflect from the great success of the Republican Party. There he is again, telling you how great it is. So bad. Including our recent victory on the Democrat shutdown. Yeah. The Department of Justice has already turned over tens of thousands of pages to the public on Epstein and are looking at various Democrat operatives like Bill Clinton, Reid Hoffman, Larry Summers, etc., and their relationship to Epstein. And the House Oversight Committee can have whatever they are legally entitled to. I don't care. All I do care about is that Republicans get back on point, which is the economy, affordability, where we're winning big. It's just like, that's what I'm saying. It's like, if you're reading this, again, folks, I'm a 3-time Trump voter. I'm not going to sit here and tell you my rap sheet of supporting Trump. All right. This is gaslighting. This is insulting. Our victory on reducing inflation from the highest level in history to practically nothing. Yeah, inflation is stalled out. That is true. But nothing's really coming down and nothing's going up where it needs to outside of the stock market. Bringing down prices for the American people. Delivering historic tax cuts. That's what I'm saying. It's like, what is he talking about? Do you feel historic tax cuts? Does anybody you talk to talk about historic tax cuts changing their life? I've never heard anyone tell me that. Gaining trillions of dollars of investment in America, a record. Most of it's not even real cash. They don't even have the money. Just a handshake. The rebuilding of our military, they're doing that. Recruitment numbers are up. Recruitment drives are up. Securing our border, the border is secure. It seems those numbers are down to almost nothing. Deporting criminal illegal aliens, they're having some problems there, but they're trying. Ending men and women's sports, and it's still going on, but they're trying. Stopping transgender for everyone. I don't know exactly what that means. Maybe why don't you make Pam Bondi start some initiative to arrest the doctors that mutilated children. There's an idea for you. Maybe one of the geniuses advising you can figure that deal out. Nobody cared about Jeffrey Epstein when he was alive. Oh, yeah? Yeah, that's just not true. Seemed you did quite a bit. If the Democrats had anything, they would have released it before our landslide election victory. Some members of the Republican Party are being used, and we can't let that happen. Yeah, so who is leaking out the Epstein stuff? Who's doing the drip, drip, drip on the Epstein stuff with the letters and the photos? And who's doing that drip, drip, drip then if it's not the Democrats? Let's start talking about Republican Party's record-setting achievements and not falling into the Epstein trap, which is actually a curse on the Democrats, not us. Make America great again. I mean, that's probably true. I have no doubt that the Epstein list will implicate Democrats more than Republicans. I have no doubt about that. That doesn't really explain anything here. The reason why people are talking about the Epstein files is because nothing is getting done. If you were making deep state arrests, they wouldn't care. If you were making arrests for the people that facilitated the invasion of this country, we wouldn't be talking about it. If you were making arrests for the people that facilitated the stolen election of 2020, we would not be talking about it. If you were making arrests of people that facilitated the creation and release of a bioweapon known as COVID-19, we wouldn't be talking about it. But because none of those things and more are happening, we are talking about it. If Pam Bondi was going after the organizers, the funders of all the left-wing terrorism that still persists even this weekend, we wouldn't be talking about it. So the only reason why we're talking about this, the only reason why this is the elephant in the room is because nothing else is getting done. And maybe people are suspicious that the reason why nothing is getting done is because certain names are on that list. And when your name is on that list, you're not allowed to get anything done. So, it's very simple. You want us to stop talking about the Epstein list? Do something that makes us stop talking about the Epstein list. But until then, we are left to assume that Washington, D.C. remains a town of elite pedophile protectors, bought and paid for by the lobbyist, foreign interests, special interests, elite pedophile interests. And until something changes in that regard, we will continue to talk about it. But let's see. Let's see what the new bait and switch is. Let's see what the new moving of the field goal post is. Or are you finally going to deliver? Are we finally going to get to see the list, spike the ball in the end zone? And I don't know, crazy concept, but arrest the elite pedophiles that were raping and molesting and abusing children. That might be a good start to get us to stop talking about it.
You're listening to the Owen Report on the Win Network.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I want to tell you about my friends at Allegiance Gold. And when you hear about the markets and you see the price of precious metals going up, you might think about, how can I get in on that? It's a natural thought. Why wouldn't be? So you can go to protectwithowen.com and get in on the fun. But let me ask you, are you the type who waits to be rescued, or the one who protects your family before the storm hits? You're already seeing the cracks. The dollar buys less every month. Banks are showing stress, and this market is being propped up with printed money. It's not if it breaks, it's how prepared you'll be when it does. Here's what they don't want you to know. When the system starts cracking, the insiders quietly move first. That's why central banks, major institutions, and billionaires are piling into gold right now. And that's why I've partnered with Allegiance Gold. When paper markets burn or the market falls, gold and silver don't. They're yours. Not the government's, not the banks, not Wall Street's. Yours. Allegiance Gold has been around for nearly a decade and is trusted by over 7,000 clients nationwide. Relationship-driven, A+ with the BBB, 4.9 stars from real clients, transparent, and they focused on educating you first. Right now, they're offering up to $5,000 in free gold and silver with qualified investments. Whether through your 401k, IRA, or savings, they make it simple to move into something real before the next reset. So call 844-790-9191. That's 844-790-9191. Or go to protectwithowen.com. That's protectwithowen.com. And follow up with Allegiance Gold. Protect your wealth and your freedom, because no one else will.
Navigating between the sane and insane, it's the Owen Report with Owen Schroyer.
All right, pretty busy first hour. We almost got through it all. We got a little leftovers here. We'll close out the first hour content with mostly the Epstein files, and then we'll move on to some of the other developments inside the Department of Justice today. But the FBI redacted Trump's name in the Epstein files. These are the claims being made. People are suspicious. The Bureau's FOIA team, tasked with conducting a final review of the records, blacked out the names before higher-ups said last month that releasing the documents would not be appropriate or warranted. So remember when Speaker Johnson said Trump was basically an FBI agent on this case, which has kind of been brought up before, and then you can look at some of the emails. And it does seem like, look, there's really bad stuff in those emails, the recent ones, and then there's stuff that's like, okay, well, maybe there was a switch amidst all of this where it looked like Trump, whenever he found out, and this had been the story before, but the emails kind of back it up, but there's some other sordid stuff in there too that's not so good. But who would trust Epstein and his pals anyway? But it does look like once Trump found out that Maxwell was recruiting girls from his clubs, that he tried to put an end to it and then cooperated with the FBI. And then Speaker Johnson came out like a month or two ago and said Trump was basically an FBI informant in bringing down Epstein. So redacting Trump's name is, you could say why, and you could get into the suspicions. But you know what? It doesn't even matter. The why doesn't even matter. The more redactions that people see when this, if it ever comes out, the more redactions people see, the worse this is going to look. And so if Trump comes out and says we have nothing to hide, and then we get the documents and there's all kinds of stuff hidden, what conclusion do you think people are going to reach? The obvious conclusion that there's a cover-up. Now, this is O'Keefe Media Group. James O'Keefe this weekend had an event at Mar-a-Lago from O'Keefe Media Group. Remember, DOJ Deputy Chief admits government will redact every Republican while leaving all the liberal Democratic people on the Epstein client list. Says Ghislaine Maxwell was moved to a lower security prison as a benefit to keep her mouth shut. The drama goes on. The saga continues. Jeffrey Epstein's brother says the Bubba mentioned in Trump oral sex email is not Bill Clinton. Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Sure. Now, if you recall, last week I said this, and now that we have some more intel, I guess I could correct the record. When you would go search in the database last week and search whatever name you wanted, but, Trump, Clinton, Bush, Obama, whoever you wanted, whatever name you wanted, Trump's name showed up the most. Well, it turns out now, upon further review, the reason why that is because all the other names are either spelled wrong. They either spelled everyone else's names wrong so that you couldn't find them in a searchable database, or they had them under nicknames like Bubba. Now, Jeffrey Epstein's brother says Bubba mentioned in Trump oral sex email is not Bill Clinton. Okay, well, Bill Clinton is a little famous for, getting the old vacuum cleaner job under the desk. So, and he's also nicknamed Bubba. But I suppose it might be a different Bubba. I'm not. Clinton is fully connected to Epstein, whether they called him Bubba or not. But they're saying it's not Bill Clinton. Clinton is not the Bubba you're looking for. These are not the Bubbas you're looking for. All right. Moving on from Epstein. The Comey case has taken another crazy turn. It was already shaping up to be a tank job with the Halligan appointment. Well, now the tank job might have reached another level. Now, stay tuned to this, folks. Stay tuned. Watch the bouncing ball here. Get to know the name Jay Clayton. Our fate may be depending on his honesty. There seems to be a chance that Trump's self-appointed Epstein investigator may actually be on the level, but the orders he's been asked to carry out will be anything but. Now, this story, I think, misses the ball entirely from the New Republic. But basically, it's saying that they think Jay Clayton is a good actor, but Trump is going to ask him to do something bad. Basically, Trump is going to say politicize the Epstein files to hurt the Democrats. Now, what's funny is Clayton is connected to the Epstein cabal. Now, I'm not saying he's on any of the lists, but as far as the groups that he's associated with or been associated with in the past with his legal work and his other associations, they're tied right into the Epstein network. They were all hanging out. This guy is directly tied to the Epstein network. And now, magically, this is the guy that gets the appointment, as the Halligan appointment that looked like it was a tank job is falling apart. So it looks like the deep state is glad Trump put this guy on there. And they're saying, oh, he's honest, but whatever he discovers is going to be dishonest. Very strange narrative building here. Very, very strange development. Who is Jay Clayton? Pam Bondi's picked to lead Trump's Epstein probe. Of course. U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi said Friday she directed Jay Clayton, the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York, very, very above board over there, right? To examine Jeffrey Epstein's connection to several well-known Democrats. So it looks like a cleanup. Is what it looks like, folks. Looks like a cleanup job. And I would anticipate that Jay Clayton became a U.S. attorney for the Southern District of New York in August after a panel of federal judges approved his continued service in the role, even though he had not been confirmed by the Senate. He was initially appointed by President Trump and allowed to remain in office unless the president nominates and the Senate confirms a replacement. He has been praised by Pam Bondi. His tenure has included major investigations involving other public figures, including the case against Sean Diddy Combs, where they failed, but he claimed it was a success. So this is going to become interesting. And the internet sleuths are going to start going after Clayton's history. They're going to start going after his connections to the people involved with Epstein. And this is going to be the latest saga, and what we will ultimately determine, was it the Epstein cover-up or the great Epstein reveal? So that's the latest. The U.S. is claiming another successful strike on a drug boat in the Pacific Ocean, killing 3 as Trump signals possible talks with Maduro. Strike comes as Navy's most advanced aircraft carrier arrives in Caribbean Sea, and President Trump says the United States may be open to talks with the Venezuelan leader. They've also suggested they may be open to land strikes on Venezuela. So a lot of big talk coming there. What does Trump want out of this deal? What is the play here? Is it oil? Is it geopolitical cooperation? What is Trump trying to squeeze out of President Maduro? As the death toll climbs from U.S. strikes on boats and waters near Latin America, tensions are increasing with Colombia, which had a long history of being a top ally to the United States in the region. But now that partnership is wavering as Colombia looks at the aggression towards Venezuela. as too heavy-handed. Trump floats labeling Maduro as a terrorist, drug dealer, the entire state of Venezuela as such, so that what? He can launch a war against Venezuela? What exactly is the play here, President Trump? Well, he briefly addressed this over the weekend. Here's what President Trump had to say.
And we may be having some discussions with Maduro, and we'll see how that turns out. They would like to talk, and we may.
So it looks like the saber rattling, the bombing of the ships is going to at least force Maduro to the table with President Trump. Where it goes from there, we shall see. And there's no doubt Maduro is behind the scenes. He's talking to Xi Jinping. He's talking to Vladimir Putin. He's talking to other leaders in South America that haven't already partnered with Trump. So I guess Milei probably not. Milei and Maduro probably not having phone conversations. The rest of them likely are. So another saga, but none of this should have been on the America First agenda. None of this should have been on the MAGA agenda. You should have been doing this after we handled our own corruption, after we arrested the deep state criminals. But because you're prioritizing more wars and foreign entanglements and all of this first, approval rating and morale continues to go down. So back to the Comey case drama. Judge scolds Justice Department for profound investigative missteps in Comey case. I'm telling you, it's a spike, folks. This looks like an intentional botch job. The Justice Department engaged in a disturbing pattern of profound investigative missteps in the process of securing an indictment against former FBI Director James Comey. A federal judge ruled Monday in directing prosecutors to produce to defense lawyers all grand jury materials from the case. Now, folks, believe me, I would love to sit here and go with what would, in the current circumstances, seem to be the odds-on favorite that this is another corrupt judge disrupting the Trump agenda. This is another corrupt liberal leftist judge getting in the way. And it might be. And yet, the Justice Department is giving them all the opportunity they need to spike this case. It seems intentional. These problems, wrote Magistrate Judge William Fitzpatrick, include fundamental misstatements of the law by a prosecutor to the grand jury that indicted Comey in September, the use of potentially privileged communications during the investigation, and unexplained irregularities in the transcript of the grand jury proceedings. The court recognizes that the relief sought by the defense is rarely granted. However, the record points to a disturbing pattern of profound investigative missteps that led an FBI agent and a prosecutor to potentially undermine the integrity of the grand jury proceeding. Now, they're also eventually going to get into here how they're withholding information from the defendant's lawyers. Both defendants have filed multiple motions to dismiss the cases against them before trial, arguing that the prosecutors are improperly vindictive and that the prosecutor who filed charges, Lindsay Halligan, was illegally appointed. That was the first sign that somebody's trying to spike this. Comey's lawyers had sought the grand jury materials out of concerns that irregularities in the process may have tainted the case. The sole prosecutor, whose defense lawyers say presented the case to the grand jury, was Halligan, a former White House aide with no prior prosecutorial experience, who was appointed just days earlier to the job of interim U.S. attorney. So they're trying to get this grand jury stuff. They're not getting it, and the judge is alarmed. So it just looks like an intentional sabotage, folks. It looks like you want to throw the game. You want to throw the game, send in your worst pitcher. You want to throw the game, send in your worst hitter. You want to throw the game, throw a fastball right down the plate. You want to throw the game, throw an interception to the other team. That's probably the most fitting analogy here. This is like them throwing an interception to the other team to run it back. hey, let's put a prosecutor in there who's never prosecuted. Let's throw the girl in there who is just a White House aide who's never prosecuted the case, and let's give her one of the biggest cases of this administration. Explain that one. Now, I don't take too much weight into this because it's another one of those, 100 intelligence officers against Trump. But it does tell you the attitude in the DOJ is not good right now. So I don't know why they just don't clean house. And that's part of the problem here. They just aren't cleaning house. So, yeah, a bunch of leftists are bitching and complaining about Pam Bondi. Of course they are. From the New York Times today. Do they have the actual headline here? Well, the unraveling of the Justice Department. 60 attorneys describe a year of chaos and suspicion. From the New York Times yesterday, their big piece. And so it goes over all these different people, these lawyers inside the DOJ talking about what a disaster Pam Bondi has been. Again, it's like another one of those lists. 100 intelligence officers against Trump. Well, yeah, most of these are leftists. Most of these just hate Trump. And so, of course, they're trying to frame this as negative. And yet, Pam Bondi is still not good. And if Pam Bondi wants to get serious, she should just fire every single person that was in this story. That's what I would do. Just fire every single one. But, draining the swamp, what's the deal, huh? Do we just not want to do it? Are we scared to do it? What's the deal with that, huh? How's the draining of the swamp going? How are the deep state arrests coming? Really trying to figure that one out. What about stopping the left-wing agitators and terrorists? That one's not going so well. They were at it again this week.
No fear! I have no business in no hate! No fear! I have no business in no hate!
Waving a foreign flag.
I have no business in no hate! No fear!
Why is this still going on? Why is this persisting? Why aren't they all getting arrested?
I have no business in no hate! No fear! I have no business in no hate!
All right.
No fear! I have no business in no hate!
Well, I would ask this. Okay, we don't want to arrest these people. We don't want to arrest the citizens protesting. That's a bad look. All right. Okay. I accept. Now, let me ask, though. Do you think they still show up if the organizers and the fundraisers have been brought in for questioning? Do you think they're still out there if the organizers and the fundraisers of these protests are being arrested for terrorism charges? Do you think they're still out there? Because I doubt it. I bet you once the entire fundraising and organizational wing of these leftist agitator groups, these leftist terrorist groups, my guess is once the organizers and the fundraisers go down, I bet the whole thing goes down. I bet they don't show up anymore. So what are we doing? What is Pam Bondi doing? They're not stopping. We've heard about investigations for months now. Where are the results? The results are they're still in the street protesting. The results are they're still in the street agitating. The results is they're still in the street engaging in illegal conduct, like interfering in law enforcement activities. That's the result so far. That's the result. Now, this is in Texas. A 17-year-old illegal alien beat a woman with a hammer, was trying to hog tie her, and God knows what else. 17-year-old migrant from Mexico accused of attacking a woman with a hammer while she was jogging at a park in Plano, Texas. He tried to duct tape her, but she managed to fight him off. Thank God. Now, this individual was arrested for overstaying a visa in 2024, but released by the Biden administration. So again, where's the Department of Justice? Tell me right now why somebody from the Department of Justice isn't finding out who signed off on this. I mean, what is this? This is likely a kidnapper. This is likely a kidnapping and a rape. If this woman isn't able to free herself here, if the woman that got attacked at a park in Plano, Texas was unable to escape, she probably would have been kidnapped and raped. So tell me why whoever it was under the Biden administration that allowed this illegal alien to stay in our country, tell me why there aren't investigations into them. That's what I want to be hearing about today. I want Pam Bondi at a podium saying, here's what we had over the weekend. Tell me why this is not happening. Tell me why. Why isn't Pam Bondi or Kash Patel or both of them? Well, I guess Kash Patel is busy flying around and he's dealing with his girlfriend. So Kash Patel's dealing with his girlfriend right now. Well done, Kash. Hot piece. Way to go, bud. So I totally get it. Screw the FBI. You got a hot girlfriend. All right. So Kash Patel, he's busy. What is Pam Bondi doing? Tell me why. I want to know. I want to hear a good reason why Pam Bondi is not at a podium today saying, here's what happened over the weekend. We had a violent group of leftists interfering with law enforcement in Charlotte, North Carolina, that were stopping law enforcement from engaging in its duties. We have launched an investigation into that. We have made dozens of arrests. We have written dozens of tickets. And we can tell you right now, here are the individuals that funded and organized this protest in North Carolina, and we are working on charges against them now. Tell me why that's not happening. And at the same press conference, why doesn't Pam Bondi come out and say, we are also investigating what would be a kidnap and a rape in Texas via an illegal alien that was released back into Texas by the Biden administration? We have found out the names of the individuals responsible for releasing this violent criminal back out onto the streets, and we are engaged in an active investigation into finding out why they did so. And if charges are needed to follow, they will. Tell me why that's not happening. Or am I just, who am I anyway? Who am I? Who am I to tell Pam Bondi how to do her job? She's clearly got it all under control. Things are going great in that Comey case, aren't they? Things are going real good with that Epstein release, huh? Things are going real good with shutting down the radical left-wing terrorism, huh? Who am I to question Pam Bondi? She's got it all figured out. Where is she today, anyway? Where is she? I've been watching Fox News. Is she on Fox News? We're in a commercial break in Fox News. She could be back. Oh, how about this? All right, we'll break away from that. Is Bondi busy? Oh, wait, well, there's a rumor. Pam Bondi sent somebody out today. She had a young intern in the office, and she said, I need you to go get me 10 bottles of Whiteout and 10 Sharpies. I'm going to be redacting the Epstein files today. Maybe that's what Pam Bondi is up to. I'm assuming Kash Patel is spending time with his wonderful girlfriend. Maybe he might even be on the personal security detail, which is expanding by the day. And I would just say, Kash, what are we doing here, bud? What are we doing here? Let's either lock that down and take care of business, because it's becoming quite a distraction, Kash, and it's hurting your reputation. It's obviously hurting your girlfriend's reputation. So this is becoming a bit of a menace here. And I get it. You got a girlfriend who's got a public profile, and you yourself kind of a public profile. So it's not like you guys can lay low here. That's not really possible in this circumstance. So you kind of have to, it's time, man. Crap or get off the pot. And now you've got FBI resources. You've got government resources now being used for this relationship. By the way, this amount of resources have never been used before for a FBI leader's wife, let alone girlfriend. And I understand these are extraordinary circumstances, so I'll accept the extraordinary circumstances here. But it's either time to just lock that down, or just tell her, look, I'm sorry here, but this relationship and your public persona here is starting to get in the way of my business. And I kind of have an important job. So nothing against you, but we're going to have to make some decisions. So either we have to take our relationship more private. I've got to call off pretty much any government involvement as far as your life is concerned. And maybe it's time we either decide to make this permanent or just maybe it's not working out. Because it's only getting worse now with the multiple lawsuits. And I got that in my stack somewhere. Kash Patel's girlfriend being protected by FBI SWAT agents as security perk. Agents on a detail with the country singer would presumably be unable to respond or delayed in responding to other incidents, according to sources. Now, again, I don't doubt that, at least in her eyes, Alexis Wilkins is feeling that she needs more security. I don't doubt that for 1 second because I've already been through that process. So I totally get that. And now it's the radical right. Now it's the radical right that is more radicalized than even the radical left when it comes to the dangers being posed at an individual level. So, Marjorie Taylor Greene is dealing with it now too. I know one of the individuals that Alexis is engaged in litigation with, Elijah Schaefer, is dealing with it too. He went to El Salvador to go to a safe house because the doxing and threats against his family. I can relate to that. I didn't go to a safe house, but I can relate to that. I was able to work with local law enforcement to deal with my situation. Now, I did have a conversation with Elijah earlier about this. He is coming back stateside today. But yes, he was dealing with trying to secure safety and security for his family for about the last week. And he may come on to give us an update on that tomorrow. Like I said, I had a conversation with him earlier today just to get some information on this story, what he was willing to share. Shared with me some stuff, but he may come on for some exclusive stuff tomorrow after some other dust settles. So look, I'm trying to not get too, I'm not trying to do a pick sides with this. I'm trying to do just fair coverage of this whole thing because I think it's all wild. And I think from everybody's perspective, it's just out of control. So forget how I feel about Kash Patel's handling of the FBI. Forget about how I feel about Alexis Wilkins. Forget about how I feel with Elijah Schaefer. This whole thing has gotten out of control. And if you're Kash Patel, you have to be the adult in the room. You're the FBI director. You have to come in here and put your foot down. And so to me, your option is you either have to tell your girlfriend, and I get it's tough, man. This is not some easy game that you're playing. This is not me telling you there's any easy solution to this. But this thing is out of control. And if you're the FBI director, you have to come in and act like the FBI director and put your foot down. And you got to tell your girlfriend, as lovely as she might be or is to you, you have to tell her, look, maybe you want it to go on, maybe you don't. I don't know. But you have to say, look, I cannot be involved in your personal protection anymore. I can't. I can't do it. If you feel unsafe, we can find private ways to protect you. Or maybe it's time you retire. Maybe it's time we move forward with our relationship, and then I can maybe protect you as my spouse. That might be a little bit easier than you as my traveling girlfriend performing all over the states. But right now, this is not working. And now it's a distraction. And now it's hurting me at my job, which is supposed to be really important. And now it's just nothing but bad publicity. Pretty unprecedented stuff. Alexis Wilkins, Patel's girlfriend. Oh, this is MS Now, by the way. Hey, this is the MS Now debut. What is it? This logo sucks. Look at this absolute turd of a logo. MS Now. The ratings are down. I can't wait. What are they going to do? Like, talk about a flop. I've seen Fox News get more publicity. I've seen Fox News get more play over a logo change than MS Now over an entire rebranding. Anyway, Wilkins, Patel's girlfriend, has a security detail made up of elite FBI agents, usually assigned to a SWAT team in the FBI field office in Nashville, where Wilkins spends time for her work. So she's already working in the FBI field office, it sounds like, for her own protection. Fair enough. I won't make a big case out of that. But if you're taking agents off of duty to protect her, now you're going to have problems. She and Patel first met in Nashville, and while they travel together at times, they do not share a residence. Patel often travels to Washington for work, but keeps a legal residence in Las Vegas. People familiar with FBI security protocols said they were unaware of any instance in which girlfriends of top FBI officials received government-staffed security details. Former FBI Director Christopher Wray's wife, Helen, received a security detail. She lived with Wray in their home in Atlanta. So that's a wife living with the spouse. So this is a little unprecedented. So the whole thing is unprecedented. But that's why Patel has to come in here and get this thing under wraps. Because it's just out of control. But I don't see any signs of that. So the drama will continue. Hope you enjoy. Enjoy the show. Second straight week, somebody Trump freed from jail is going back. Ponzi schemer who got Trump clemency for 50, now faces 50 years in a new fraud case. I finangled and Ponzi'd and lied to people to cover for us and our deals, Weinstein said in a recording. Now, Weinstein is the guy here that President Trump commuted the sentence for, Eli Weinstein, a convicted Ponzi schemer whose 24-year prison term was commuted by President Trump in 2021, now faces as much as 50 years behind bars for an investor fraud that took place after Trump granted him clemency. You've got January 6ers that can't even get a full pardon. You've got January 6ers that are still in jail. They can't get out, commuted clemency. But Elijah Weinstein sure did. 51 faces sentencing Friday in a federal court in Trenton, New Jersey, after being convicted of defrauding more than 150 investors out of $41 million. Investors believed their money was going to COVID-19 masks, baby formula, and first aid kits bound for Ukraine, but it actually went to a gambling ring, real estate, and luxury watches. Eli Weinstein will be sentenced Friday. He'll probably get 25. Is my guess. He'll get 25 years. Do you think Trump will bail him out again? Prosecutors asked the United States Judge Michael Shipp to sentence Weinstein to a half century in prison, an unusually harsh term in the white-collar case, but Weinstein's lawyer, Iana Haramati, said he is innocent and doesn't deserve the severe punishment that prosecutors are seeking. Well, that's the innocent plea is already going to fail you. He won't get 50, even though he's a repeat offender. I think he'll probably get 25. They might give him more with an opportunity to shrink it. I mean, once you get to 25 when you're 51, you know, you're not at a life sentence, but you're virtually talking about a life sentence. I think they'll probably end up at 25. But there's other parts of this scheme. He also hid his illicit business activities and assets to avoid paying $228 million in restitution he still owed to his victims from his first Ponzi scheme. So he hasn't even paid off what he owed the first victims. Now there's more victims. It's funny how that works. But so this is the second week in a row. And this was last week. Drug dealer freed by Trump, now convicted of molesting his kid's nanny and threatening synagogue congregate. So this is week number 2. This one, Jonathan Braun, 41, landed a 27-month sentence in Brooklyn federal court Monday, that's last week, for violating the terms of his 2021 presidential pardon with fresh crimes. So back-to-back weeks, somebody who received a freedom pass, somebody that received a clemency, and this gentleman from last week whose sentence was commuted by Trump. Now, both are back. One is back. One is facing sentencing this week. 2 straight weeks, somebody let free by Trump. First, last week, Jonathan Braun, and then this week, Eli Weinstein. But we can't even get full pardons for all January 6ers. And some still remain in jail. Hey, but at least the economy's great, right? No. Another record, baby. Another record. Fueling debt. How rising utility costs are overwhelming American families. And it gets into how more energy utility bills are delinquent than ever in the history of this country. Families can't keep up. Rising energy bills are driving more households deeper into debt. Since 2022, the average overdue balance on utility bills climbed from $597 to $789, a 32% increase. Millions are facing severe utility debt heading into the winter months, bigger than ever. Utility prices are on the rise across the country. I will say gas prices were down today. I happened to get up and at it today, so we got gas this morning, paid our bills this morning, and went and got groceries today. Energy bills are up. Energy bills are still up. Grocery bills are still up. Gas bills, price at the pump is down a little bit. But that's another argument to be made that the economy is perhaps the worst of all time. Record utility debt. Record utility debt. And that's not going away. That's only going up. There's no relief in sight. Pay is not up. Wages are not up. Salaries are not up. Debt is up. Cost of living is up. Energy is up. Groceries are up. Rent is up. Interest is up. Mortgages are up. Greatest economy ever. Golden age. Let's look at the geopolitical stack here. Prison looms for Brazil's Bolsonaro after court rejects his appeal. What is Bolsonaro going to do now? Brazil's far-right former president Bolsonaro is running out of options to avoid prison after judges on Friday rejected his appeal against a 27-year sentence for a botched coup. This is like the Democrats jailing Trump for 27 years for January 6th. Bolsonaro lost the 2022 elections and was convicted in September for his efforts to prevent President Luiz Lula da Silva from taking power after the polls. Again, that didn't even happen. This is virtually the same thing as January 6th, but the Brazilian communists are worse than the communists here. A panel of Supreme Court judges weighing Bolsonaro's appeal all voted to uphold the sentence last week. The result was not considered official until midnight on Friday. So what does Bolsonaro want to do? He wants to run for office again, but obviously they're not going to let him do that. They're going to put him in prison. He might be able to cut a deal and say, all right, I won't run for office. Just let me live out the rest of my life. That could be a potential deal. Or can he flee the country? I mean, he'd have to get evacuated out by like U.S. Special Forces. That's how bad this is. That's how bad this is. And the court is suggesting Bolsonaro be in prison by next month. Now, he's been under house arrest, but they basically want him in jail for the rest of his life starting next month. Honestly, this is to me, this is more important than whatever Trump is trying to do in Venezuela. But of course, maybe that's because we don't know what Trump is trying to do in Venezuela. Saving Bolsonaro, who was a major ally of yours, Saving Bolsonaro from this political imprisonment is a big thing. Trump should do everything to try to stop Bolsonaro from going to jail. And if he doesn't even say anything about it, that would be a disgusting betrayal. That would be a disgusting show of no loyalty for Bolsonaro, when the exact same thing could have happened to President Trump. That would be sad. Ukraine signs deal to obtain 100 French-made Rafale warplanes. Oh, geez. Oh, my gosh, Macron. You know, here's what's so funny about this. I guess this shows how dumb Macron is, but who knows what the deal was, right? I mean, who knows with these corrupt politicians? But it's like, oh, here's a desperate Zelensky. Desperate. Like a crackhead with no crack. And he's going to go to Macron. And he says, I need to buy 100 warplanes. With what money? With what money are you using to buy these planes? Do you even have the money? Now, if I'm President Trump, I'm looking at this and I'm saying, wait a second. He owes us money. This guy owes us money. How is it that he owes us all this money and then he's going to go buy planes from France? This should be an insult. President Trump should be insulted. President Trump should be sending goons and thugs to hold this guy upside down over a building, shake him down. President Trump should be sending goons and thugs to break this guy's legs. What do you mean you're going and buying 100 planes from France? You owe us money. And is that a suit you're wearing? Are you wearing a suit to seize Macron? Macron, he doesn't have the money. Where do you think? What? Where is this little man getting the money? Does he have a side gig we're not aware of? Is this guy selling mass amounts of cocaine? Where does he have the cash? And if I'm Trump, I'm pissed. I'm saying, okay, you got money to buy planes, you got money to pay us back. And if you don't, we're out. We're done. Good luck. And you know what? Maybe we'll cut a deal with Russia. Maybe that's what we'll do now, because you owe us money and you don't show any intentions of paying us back. So maybe I'll cut a deal with Russia and I'll get our money back. How do you like that? Of course, that's what I'd like to see anyway. That's what I'd like to see anyway, but maybe that's the straw that breaks the camel's back. And here's Zelensky, a desperate man, losing support in Europe, losing support in America, goes crawling to Macron, maybe under the desk, maybe lubed up, and he somehow is able to fandangle 100 planes from Macron when he's totally broke. Explain that one to me. Send in the goons, President Trump. Send in the thugs. We're all gangsters. There's a bunch of gangsterism here. Send them in. Shake this creep down. This guy owes us money. He's out here buying warplanes. That bastard owes us money. I'm cutting deals with Russia today if I'm President Trump, and I see that. I'm calling up Putin right now. I'm saying, Vladdy, I know we've had our problems, Vladdy, but we have a similar problem now. We have something in common. Neither of us like that. Zelensky, I know it. We can't even say the name. He's so short and disturbing. Actually, you're about the same height, so I'll take that back. But I've had enough of him. Vlad, I want to cut a deal. I want a deal. What do you want? What do you want in Ukraine? I'm willing to give it to you. I just need a cut. Just give me a cut. What do you got? Can I get some rare earths? Huh? Can I get some land? What do you got for me? That little punk Zelensky screwed me over. Last time he does that, he's not going to go. He thinks Macron is his friend. Me and Macron go way back. I know all of Macron's big secrets, Vladdy. Like the one about his wife? You know it, Vladdy. We all know. Everybody knows. We've seen it. We've seen that knob. We've seen that bulge. So, Vladdy, what do you want? I'm done with the Ukraine deal. Okay? He owes me money, and instead he goes to Macron. Not even me. Not even the Don. He goes to Macron, that long-nosed freak over me. Maybe they got something in common with a nose like that. You know, he can probably get a lot in. Is that the deal? How did this deal go down? I don't know. I was cut off, laddie. So here's the deal. I'm with you now. I want the land. I want the rare earths. I'll call off the dogs in Ukraine. You can move right in. Just move right in. But we need some of that rare earth, okay? All right, laddie? But I'm done. When I saw him go to Macron, I knew I couldn't trust him. You think Trump even knows this is going on? It's a fair question. Protesters rage against Mexico's government over corruption and violence. Now, this is being billed as a younger protest, a lot like what we're seeing in America. You know, I watched a lot of the video of this over the weekend. I'm not so convinced. There seem to be a lot of men over 40 involved in this, actually. Members of Mexico's Gen Z, as well as older protesters, demonstrated on Saturday in the wake of a high-profile assassination and rising anger over persistent violence. Yeah, I don't even know the numbers, like dozens of assassinations in the last political election cycle in Mexico. And this is mostly cartel related. Protesters gathered in cities across Mexico on Saturday to vent their frustration at how the president has handled corruption and violent crime, with demonstrators ranging from pensioners to young people linking themselves with a global Gen Z movement. A global Gen Z movement. The demonstrations, which took place in more than 50 cities, underscored a persistent public perception. Despite President Claudia Sheinbaum's efforts to curb violence and weaken organized crime, many Mexicans feel that killings and corruption retain a powerful grasp on their lives. Sheinbaum remains broadly popular and her opposition largely disorganized, not presenting any clear threat to her presidency. But the protests were a clear sign of widespread frustration, drawing from a range of society and coming as many Mexicans feel increasing anger over persistent violence. You know, it seems across the world, one thing seems consistent across the world. People don't like their government. Isn't it amazing? Isn't it amazing? A prominent mayor who had called for harsh action against criminals was assassinated this month. Extortion is at an all-time high, and some states have become battlegrounds for cartels armed with military-grade weapons. Yeah, it seems our government seems to be the problem no matter what state, no matter what country you're in. It seems that one thing remains consistent, and that's that people don't like their government. Things got a little violent. At least 120 hurt in Gen Z protests over corruption in Mexico. As you can see some of the videos on the screen here. And of course, you got the police that are dealing with cartel shootouts and violence, so it's hard for them to even have the right numbers to deal with this, as they're literally in gun battles with the cartels. New York Post's headline: anti-Semitic graffiti scrawled on Mexico's top court during protest against country's first Jewish president. 'Tis the season, huh? 'Tis the season. 'Tis the theme. Vile anti-Semitic graffiti was scrawled on the entrance to Mexico's top court over the weekend as protest against the country's first Jewish president, Claudia Sheinbaum, turned violent. Pictures showing the words Jewish whore spray-painted in Spanish on the building's main entrance in downtown Mexico City were shared widely Saturday after another day of anger during so-called Generation Z march against crime and alleged government corruption. Oh, there it is right there. Am I allowed to say that, or will an FBI SWAT team come crashing through my doors? Alongside the insult, a Star of David with a large red cross over it was also visible. A demonstrator wearing a swastika emblazoned T-shirt and a ski mask was featured in other pictures from the rally in Mexico City's enormous Constitution Plaza. You wonder how much of this is organic and how much of this is done with ulterior motives. So there you go. The first Jewish president of Mexico is not helping the cause. Saturday's demonstration ended in violent clashes in which about 120 people were injured, 100 of them police officers. Thugs armed with rocks, sticks, chains, and fireworks attacked the cops who were guarding the presidential palace. You know, this actually has the potential to get a lot worse. This has the potential to get a lot worse. I have a feeling this story isn't going anywhere. Oh, Israel's weighed in. Israel Foreign Minister Gideon Sa'ar said, Israel strongly condemns the anti-Semitic and sexist insults directed at Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum. There is no place for such attacks in political discourse. All forms of anti-Semitism in any context must be unequivocally rejected. So now what? You can't criticize the president of Mexico? So now the protests and everything is illegitimate because of somebody spray painting that? Is that what we're doing? Speaking of Israel, Eric Adams, he decided in his final days of mayor that he'd go to Israel, the people that he worked for. Oh, and why would you say that? Well, I didn't say it. He did.
My male team here in Israel, and as I finish, I wanted to come back here to Israel and let you know that I serve you as the mayor, but I want to continue to have the title that's more important to me than anything. I'm your brother. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Can someone explain this to me? Explain this to me like I'm 5. Explain this to me like I am an ignoramus. I have no idea what's going on. Why is the mayor of New York City spending his final days in Israel saying, you're the people I serve, you're the people I work for? Can someone explain this to me? Let's play it again.
My male team here in Israel, and as I finish, I wanted to come back here to Israel and let you know that I serve you as the mayor, but I want to continue to have the title that's more important to me than anything. I'm your brother.
Can somebody explain this to me? The mayor of New York City says he serves Israel and then says his most important title is a brother of Israel. Somebody explain this to me like I'm 5. Somebody give me an innocent explanation why the mayor of New York City serves Israel. Somebody give me an innocent explanation for why the mayor of New York City in his final days is over sucking up to Israel at the Wailing Wall. Somebody explain this to me like I'm 5. Somebody give me the innocent explanation. I mean, there has to be one, right? It can't be that every single politician is controlled by Israel, right? That's a conspiracy theory. Obviously, our politicians are not controlled by Israel. There is no evidence of that whatsoever. Okay? There is no massive Israeli lobby that buys both sides of Congress. There is no massive donors, hundreds of millions of dollars spent on U.S. politics from Israeli citizens. And it's not like every single member of Congress or local elections goes to the wall to pose for a picture, touching it, kissing it, everything else, right? There's no evidence that Israel controls our politicians. So somebody explain to me why Eric Adams is spending his final days as the mayor of New York City saying, I serve the people of Israel, and my most important title is to be a brother of Israel. Somebody explain this to me. What is the innocent explanation? Because I certainly don't get it. Because it would appear to me that Eric Adams just said that he serves Israel as the mayor of New York City. Am I misinterpreting this? Meanwhile, The attacks on J.D. Vance are upon us. The attacks on J.D. Vance's character and political future are upon us. I'll explain why coming up in the third hour.
You're listening to the Owen Report on the Win Network.
It's the fastest 3 hours on the internet. It's the Owen Report with Owen Schroyer.
All right, so the mudslinging on J.D. Vance over the weekend got to another level. And this one is a little interesting. And it makes me actually like J.D. Vance even more. But my conclusion doesn't change, which is nobody from this administration is going to be electable at this point anyway. So it really doesn't matter. If I was odds making for 2028, let's say, J.D. Vance would probably still be number one. And then I'd say Marjorie Taylor Greene, Thomas Massie, Tucker Carlson, and then maybe Marco Rubio. Those would be probably my top 5 potential candidates for 2028, but that it's too early to even get involved in those discussions, really. But so there was a mass coordinated campaign attacking J.D. Vance, and he basically is sticking up for an individual under his office's employ, which, of course, is the son of Tucker Carlson, Buckley Carlson. Now, let me just say it's woke to attack Buckley Carlson because his father is Tucker Carlson. So it's the woke right again. It's the same woke right. It's the same individuals, same people that are attacking J.D. Vance because he won't part ways with Buckley Carlson because Buckley is the son of Tucker Carlson. So this is the woke right. We're canceling you because of who your father is. So there's this battle, I guess, for like what? The heart and soul of J.D. Vance? I'm trying to understand it exactly. But I guess that's what it is. So because J.D. Vance, and now it's Trump, by the way. This weekend, Donald Trump refused to disavow Tucker Carlson. He actually showed support for Tucker Carlson. He also refused to disavow Nick Fuentes over the weekend. So these same people that are crashing out over J.D. Vance for not firing Buckley Carlson, this is the Trump cult, by the way. Do you think the Trump cult will scold President Trump for not disavowing Nick Fuentes? Do you think the Trump cult will scold President Trump for not disavowing Tucker Carlson? They've been silent. They've been silent today because you never touch the cult leader. If logic can't be applied universally, it's not logic, it's propaganda. So they had no problem attacking anybody and everybody for the last 2 weeks and beyond, really. But it intensified the last 2 weeks. These people had no problem attacking anybody and everybody for the last 2 weeks that wouldn't disavow Tucker Carlson and wouldn't disavow Nick Fuentes. And throw Candace Owens in there as well. They attacked you for 2 straight weeks if you refuse to disavow. But now Trump refuses to disavow, and all of a sudden they're silent. Why? Why, guys? Why can't you disavow Trump for refusing to disavow? What happened to your logic? Where's your logical consistency here, guys? Or did we finally reach the top of the cult that you're not allowed to say anything negative about? So now they're going after VP. So here's how I see it. And I'll get into some of the examples here. Here's how I see it. They see, and I'd say accurately at this point, it'll change, but at this point, yes, J.D. Vance is still the odds-on favorite to be the presidential nominee from the Republican Party in 2028. At this point. I don't think that's where it's going to end up, but at this point he is. So they see that, I mean, if we don't, should we just keep it 100? You just want to keep it 100? Okay. We'll keep it 100 for you. The people that prioritize Israel, the people that love Israel, know that Israel is losing support. And if Israel is a big issue for you, or you love Israel, or you're loyal to Israel, then you see this and you have to act upon this. This matters to you. Now, to most Americans, the fate of Israel or the political issue of Israel is not on their priority list. And if it is, it's very low. But to the people that are loyal to Israel and the people that love Israel, Israel is their number one issue. They've made this very clear. They make no bones about it. And that's why if you don't agree on the Israel issue, they try to gatekeep you out of Republican Party politics, because that has to be your number one issue, is a foreign country. So they see that Vance is the next big thing in the Republican Party. And they see that Vance is kind of a fence sitter on the issue, but you're not allowed to be a fence sitter. You're not allowed to even be neutral. You either have to be all in, pro-Israel, pro-Netanyahu, pro-Zionists. You have to espouse the propaganda of Judeo-Christian nation and America wouldn't exist without Israel. You know the same lies, the same propaganda. And if you don't do that, you're not on the team. So J.D. Vance is not on the team. He hasn't done enough. He has to go all in. But they see he's the future, so they're trying to get him off the fence and onto their sides. Which, you know, for whatever reason, the pro-Israel lobby, for whatever reason, the Israeli loyalists, they just have the worst PR. And they just, like, they can't even see it. It's like the more aggressive you guys get, the more you show us that you're more committed to a foreign country than to America, the worse you look. So have at it. Have at it. Israel's your issue. It's not 80% of America's issue. It's probably not even 90% of America's issue. That's your issue. You're about 10% max, but you're the loudest in the room. Your people have the most money, the most influence. So you get to have this facade like Israel is such a big important issue for America when it's not. But now they see the threat that Israel is losing support, specifically on the Republican Party, and they see that J.D. Vance could be the future, so they're trying to win him over. So here you go. Here come the attacks, because Vance won't disavow, Vance won't fire, same people. Seeing our VP attack a small reporter over serious, legitimate concerns about Carlson's son working for him tells me everything I know about where he stands. Oh, yes, he won't fire somebody's son because I demand him. It should be pointed out that he didn't even defend his wife this strongly after Groypers viciously attacked her. Again, these people wanting to command you. These people think that they can run your lives. It's really crazy. It's really weird, isn't it? They love independent thought. They love diversity of thought. But there's one issue that they need you in the cult on. If he continues to embrace Tucker and Fuentes, my vote in 2028 will never be his. Oh, I'm far from alone. The right is currently making the same lethal error Dems did over the last 10 years by bowing to the most radical among them. Now, there's the irony. There's the great irony right there. You need more than Nick's 1 million followers to win an election. The vast majority of Americans are not hate-filled zealots. Wise to remember. So let me break this down. Now, Jamie Mitchell is the founder and president of Gays Against Groomers. Her expertise is separating the radical left LGBT movement from common sense, normal-minded LGB Americans that don't like the grooming of children and the trans agenda, and trying to keep men out of women's sports and women's locker rooms. A righteous fight, and that's her expertise. But to Jamie, your political expertise and analysis is obviously not so good. Let me explain why. Now, first, let's start right here. My vote in 2028 will never be his. I'm far from alone. So you see, never doubt me, folks. What did I tell you? Anyone from this administration will not be electable. Even the people that disagree with me. Even the people on the other side of the controversial issues. Even the people on the other side of the split of the Republican Party, of the Trump base right now. Even they are saying we won't vote for anybody out of this administration. Do you see? Never doubt me, folks. What did I tell you? What did I tell you from day one? Nobody from this administration will be electable. And there's your proof yet again. And that's from the people on the other side of the split. Even they are saying we won't do it. Now imagine, though, why won't they be voting for a member of this administration? Because that member doesn't engage in the woke culture, the cancel culture, and the all-out support for Israel. Why won't people on our side of the aisle be voting for anybody in this administration? Because no deep state arrests, no elite pedophile arrests, no draining of the swamp, no massive reform of American politics. So one side, we're not going to vote for somebody from this administration. They're not pro-Israel enough. They're not woke enough. The other side, we didn't get what we wanted, deep state arrests, everything else. So that kind of gives you an idea of where the split in the Republican Party is at. Then Jamie Michel, so this is swing and miss number one. Like, oh, you're threatening Republicans by you're not gonna vote for them in 2028. Like, hello, that's already our play. So you're playing our card now, but okay. So swing and a miss number one. Here's swing and a miss number two. The right is currently making the same lethal error Dems did over the last 10 years by bowing to the most radical among them. You guys are the radicals. You guys are the radicals making them bow to you. That's what your whole post here is about. You're demanding J.D. Vance bow to you and fire somebody. You're demanding J.D. Vance bow to you and disavow Tucker Carlson and Nick Fuentes. You're demanding, the radicals on the right are demanding everybody bow to Israel. So you guys are the ones. You guys are the ones that are going to cost Republicans elections, not us. You guys. So there's swing and a miss. You're down 0-2 in the count. You're one strike away from striking out. So let's see. Can you get a hit? Or are you going to go down swinging? You need more than Nick's 1 million followers to win an election. The vast majority of Americans are not hate-filled zealots. Wise to remember. Okay. Let's apply this logic to you. You're going to need more than the tiny fraction of Americans that prioritize Israel to win an election. And in case you didn't just learn that in the 2025 elections, then I guess you're going to need 2026 to realize it. This isn't about Nick Fuentes' million followers. This is about an administration prioritizing a foreign country. This is about an administration prioritizing an issue that the vast majority of Americans don't care about. This isn't about Nick Fuentes, whether he has 1 follower or 1 million followers. What you guys fail to realize is that 90% of Americans do not prioritize Israel. They are not interested in prioritizing Israel. And now the vast majority of Americans are so sick and tired of Israel, they will vote for a candidate just for standing against Israel and refusing the AIPAC money on principle alone. And you will see single issue voters in 2026, and that will be their single issue. So strike 3, you're out. Now you can listen to your hitting coach and you can change your tact, and just maybe you can preserve some level of support for Israel. You can listen to your hitting coach and maybe you can raise your batting average on such an issue, but I doubt you will because you guys can't help it. Here's an example. I'm not going to go to this clip. I mean, it's mostly just hot air, but it's Bill O'Reilly complaining about Fuentes and talking about how, he doesn't think that he really has a big audience. This is hilarious. This is, in fact, you know what? Let's go to the clip. Let's actually go to the clip and respond to it here, because I got to give Piers Morgan credit. You know, he comes from that kind of last generation of TV cable news. But Piers has had enough self-awareness and enough wherewithal to understand how media is changing. So Piers isn't desperate to get Bill O'Reilly on his show. He's not. Nobody cares about Bill O'Reilly. Bill O'Reilly is irrelevant. Who talks about Bill O'Reilly since he left Fox News? Nobody. Bill O'Reilly tried to do a tour, a speaking tour. He tried to do it with Trump. Couldn't sell a ticket, so he canceled. So people talk about Nick Fuentes. They don't talk about Bill O'Reilly. Bill O'Reilly is nothing without a network behind him. Nothing. So this is Bill O'Reilly speaking into a vacuum, and he doesn't even realize it yet. He hasn't figured it out yet. And Piers kind of tries to help him, but he's in full rejection mode.
They don't watch television. They don't listen, obviously, to vinyl music. It's all digital. They don't reprint newspapers and so on. They're moving very quickly to an all digital existence. And that is why these online people like Fuentes are getting a lot of momentum with young people. How damaging could that potentially be?
How damaging is Speaker's Corner in Hyde Park? You know, I mean, you could drag that guy off the little platform there. The only damage here is perspective.
So, Bill O'Reilly, 0 for 1, swing and a miss. Who's speaking at the Central Park Speaking Square, Bill? Do you know the name? No. You were asked a question about Nick Fuentes. And I got news for you. If Nick Fuentes was speaking at the Central Park Speaker Square, then you'd be hearing about the Central Park Speaker Square. So Bill is in complete denial. And he's rejecting the reality that he's irrelevant and Fuentes is. This is total denial. And he thinks that somehow insulting the new media is going to change the numbers, is going to change the outcome. Bill O'Reilly will still be speaking into a vacuum today. And Nick Fuentes, if he even decides to go live tonight, will speak to 100,000 people. And Bill will speak into a vacuum. That's the reality. Bill O'Reilly is irrelevant. Nick Fuentes is very relevant. The president is not talking about Bill O'Reilly. The president is talking about Nick Fuentes. So here's a man. And this represents a mindset, ladies and gentlemen. This represents the old guard right mindset clinging to power right now. And it looks like Trump's going to be their last gasp. We thought he was going to be our first gasp. Looks like he's instead going to be their last gasp. And this is their mindset. They're in the denial of reality. They're in denial that their issues are not our issues. They're in denial that the issues that they used to carry water with don't carry water anymore. We've moved on. And the numbers show it. The outcomes show it. And they're just in total denial, speaking into a vacuum. Nobody listening, completely irrelevant.
So we have in New York City a communist mayor now, Ma'am Donnie. So everybody voted for Ma'am Donnie, and most of them were young.
He doesn't even sound good. He sounds really bad. By the way, Trump sounds sick too. I don't know if you heard him today. Trump from the Oval Office today sounds like he's under the weather, or maybe he's just lost his voice. But he sounds like he's trying to play through some pain today.
Younger people, are they all communists? No, they don't know anything.
I can't listen.
They're ignorant. They don't know history. And this guy has tapped into this ignorance in a megalomaniacal way to elevate himself.
Listen to how condescending this asshole is. Bill O'Reilly is such a jerk. This guy is such a condescending asshole. No wonder. See, here's what they don't understand. Bill, it was a lot easier for you to get ratings. It was a lot easier for you to acquire fame and fortune when there were no other options, Bill. When there were no other options and people had to watch Bill O'Reilly in primetime, they watched Bill O'Reilly in primetime. But guess what, Bill? Now we have options. And you know what? Amongst the options, you know what people are choosing? They're choosing not to watch you. That's enough. That's enough. Do we want to continue here? We can continue here. Posobiec says, we either get MAGA or we get Marxist revolution. There is no other option. I got into it a little bit with Melissa Tate. I consider her a friend. We had a back and forth, very cordial though. As I said in my video last week, it's really what it's going to come down to. It's going to come down to people on the right. It won't even be issue based. It's going to appear to be issue based. The lines will be drawn on issues. But at the end of the day, the real divide in the right is going to fall on this. People that can have a disagreement and move forward cordially and amicably. People that can handle a disagreement like normal people. People that can handle disagreement without becoming psychotic freaks. That's what really is going to be the story at the end of the day when it comes to the divide on the right. Yes, it will appear fully issue-based. The lines will be drawn on issues. But it's really just going to come down to who can have a discussion, a debate, and disagree and still be a normal person afterwards. So like me and Melissa, we had maybe a disagreement, a little bit of a debate over the weekend, still normal, no problem. That's what it's ultimately going to come down to. And then the ideas will win out. So she says, Nick Fuentes, he wants the left to win so that after 4 years, America will be ready to elect somebody like him. Let me explain this because why are people on the right? I'm at a loss. So you have this new right-wing cult that wants to gatekeep. And obviously the biggest names they're trying to gatekeep right now, and then everything else follows. The biggest names these people are trying to gatekeep are Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, and Nick Fuentes. All right? So you say, oh, look, they're out supporting Democrats. Oh, look, they're supporting Mom Donnie. Oh, look, they're hoping Democrats will win. Well, let me ask you, to the gatekeepers out there that want to gatekeep Fuentes out and Fuentes followers out, and now you're complaining that they're just supporting Democrats. Let me just ask you, what did you expect them to do? It's a genuine question. You're gatekeeping them out of the Republican Party politics. You're gatekeeping them out of conservative events. And then you're launching digital influence campaigns to attack them, smear them, and try to destroy them and bury them. And you expect them to work with you? You expect them to vote how you tell them to vote? You expect them to do what you tell them to do? Somebody explain to me that logic. Somebody explain that to me. And I'm not even saying that's what Melissa Tate is saying here. I think she's kind of just responding to all the craziness that's going on. So let me just take her off the screen because this isn't meant to address her. I'm just trying to figure this out. To all the right-wing gatekeepers that are pushing everybody out of the party, pushing everybody out of the conservative movement, doing so very publicly, very vocally, not even subtly, directly. I'm just curious. Now that you're complaining that they're supporting Democrats, I'm just curious. What did you expect them to do? It's an honest question. What did you think was going to happen when you pushed them out? Did you think they would just disappear? Did you think they would still support you? Did you think they would still support Republicans? What did you expect? What did you anticipate that move was going to do? And see, this is another proof of the woke right. What is another core component of woke psychology? Maybe even the core component. And really this is liberalism, but it's expanding into wokeism now. Why is liberalism a mental disorder? Why is wokeism a mental disorder? Because you literally cannot understand decision reaction or action reaction or decision consequence. They can't, there's something in their brain that's broken. They can't figure it out. And now the woke right is exhibiting the exact same mental disorder as the woke left liberals. Action, reaction, decision, consequence. You guys took the action to try to gatekeep the Republican Party. You guys made the decision to gatekeep conservative events and movements. What did you think the reaction was going to be? What did you think the consequence was going to be? You didn't. Now you're seeing it, and you're complaining about it. You're woke. You have a mental disorder. You should have known when you started gatekeeping things on the right that you were going to push people to the left, just like the left did. It's amazing watching woke go from the left to the right. It's just, we're watching it happen right in front of our faces. It's phenomenal even to witness this. From a psychological perspective, it is truly astounding. So now I'm seeing this talking point. Tyler Boyer from Turning Point Action. Go after the left. Go after the left. Yeah. Again, this logic makes no sense. The left is not in power. Why would we go after the left? They have no power. Go after the left. That's very cultish. Posobiec. They don't want you to know this, but you can focus on the left completely for free. Yeah, sure. Anybody? We there's no doubt about that. I don't think there's any disagreement on that. But why? Why would I focus on the left? The left has no power. The left is not sending my money to Ukraine right now. That's the Trump administration. The left is not prioritizing a foreign country in a foreign war. That's the Trump administration. By the way, you can see this all across X today. Everybody's saying, we have to focus on the left. We have to keep attacking the left. Attack the left. Attack. We just defeated the left. What has happened, man? What happened, guys? What are we doing? We just beat the left. Why would I sit here and talk about the left? They have no power. We beat them. We have the House. We have the Senate. We have the White House. We have the mandate. Just go after the left. If you tell me to only go after the left, you sound like a cult leader. If you tell me to only go after the left, you sound like controlled opposition. Only go after the left? What if the right is attacking free speech? What if the right is attacking the Second Amendment? What if the right is continuing the foreign aid? What if the right is continuing all the wars with the neocons? Only go after the left. What kind of a logical conclusion is that? That's like waving the flag, waving the white flag. All right, we give up. We can't do anything with the right. We're always going to lose to the swamp with the right. So just go after the left. It's more fun. Just go after the left. That's what the big donors want. They want the left-right paradigm to continue. They don't want you to look up and speak truth to power and actually force major reform. Just go after the left. They have no power. What am I going after on the left? Tell you what, you want somebody to focus on the left? Why are you talking to us? You should be talking to Pam Bondi. You should be talking to Kash Patel. You should be talking to Donald Trump. Don't tell us to focus on the left. We're free Americans. We can do whatever the hell we want. Don't tell us we're only allowed to go after the left. No, you know who should be focusing on the left and impeaching all the corrupt judges and investigating all the members of the Biden crime family and the Clinton crime family and the Biden administration and all the crimes they committed and the leftist terror groups? You know, if you're going to tell anybody to focus on the left, you should be telling that to Pam Bondi, to Kash Patel, and to Donald Trump. That's who you should be telling to focus on the left. But I guess you're not allowed to do that, because that would involve something a little uncomfortable, wouldn't it? Like saying something maybe more direct. Hi, guys. Do you think you could stop prioritizing Israel and actually go after the deep state and the terrorist left? No, that's a little too uncomfortable. So instead, we're just going to direct it at the Americans that really have no power in these decisions. We're just going to direct it at them and try to control the conversation on the right instead. Okay, gotcha. Not here. Now, I've been telling you about this for almost a year, but I did find this video I shot back in March, and I have a feeling something's about to break on this. So I shot this back in March. There's a massive change in political media and commentary. People are starting to see the patterns. Few can honestly say why. I can. Here it is. So I get into the digital influence campaign stuff and how X is basically being turned into commercialism in politics, and it's all pay for play on X. And it's really, 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 it's more prevalent than you can even imagine. Or maybe now it's easier to imagine. But back then it was tough to even comprehend. So that's me breaking it down back in March. Did so again. Remember what I told you, digital influence campaigns, everyone's seeing it now. Think the what, not the who. Pretty sure this was 2025. Yeah, so this is all March 2025. All right. So, okay, so there's that. Now, a couple things at play when I show you this. So this is Olivia Krolchek. She's going public. She says, the amount of money I've been offered to promote HB1 is crazy. So just remember that a lot of these influencers are just bought and paid for. And my message to influencers, don't accept money to promote anything you don't actually support / agree with. Keep your morals. I do know Olivia, and I can tell you she's probably about as good as they come. She's probably about as real as it gets. She's probably about as wholesome as it gets. So I would totally tell you that Olivia is 100% real. And the fact that she's willing to come out and say this tells you. Now, you have to imagine, when you talk about these issues like HB1, foreign aid, these are million, even billion-dollar industries, folks. We're talking about millions and billions of dollars changing hands depending on how things go. So, of course, they're willing to pay an influencer $5,000 for a post, $10,000 for a post, because that's chump change compared to the hundreds of millions of dollars that, if they get their way, is about to exchange hands. It's nothing. But the average American that's struggling to pay bills, you offer them a couple grand for a political post? Heck yeah, they're going to take it. And that's what's going on. Good for you, Olivia. It goes on. I'd be hella rich if I lost all my morals and just started accepting all the money I've been offered for post, but I refuse to support / promote anything that doesn't fall in line with what I would say to begin with. Don't even get me started on all the pro-Israel cash that's floating around the influencer world. I got to tell you, I was already impressed with Olivia when I met her, just because she's just real. She's just a great person, you know. Politics, she passes it. She passes the test too. But I have to say, just like, I forgot to pull this one up. Just like I started coming out in March as soon as I started seeing this stuff, because I am a man of character. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Owen. Thank you. Because I'm a man of character, and I want you to get the full story. That's why I do what I do. I want you to know what's going on. I was one of the very few people that came out and talked about that in March when it first started to ramp up. Because you have to understand, during the election cycle, everything was directed towards getting Trump in office. So the big money was going to Trump support. After Trump got inaugurated in January, the big money started to shift into issues. H-1B, foreign policy, that type of stuff. So it went from, we got to get Trump in, to issue-based, results-based. So as soon as I started to see that in March, I told you about it. Now, I don't understand why other people don't want to talk about it. It's, you know, it's a bit too revealing. It's a bit pulling the curtain back on the wizard. A lot of people are involved. So it's like, you pull the curtain back on that wizard, everybody's implicated. You pull the curtain back and you show how these people on X are funded, it's kind of a no-no. And if you've taken that money, you don't want to be the one to reveal it. Well, I never did take the money, so I had no problem revealing it as soon as I found out about it. And I would say it's probably safe to bet Olivia didn't take the money either. And so good for her for calling it out. Because I know it's a little risky. But see, now you get to see who's really real, who's really true to the cause, and who's just in it for fame and fortune. Now, I'm going to make a prediction. More people are going to start calling this out pretty soon. more people are going to start calling this out, and more people are going to start delivering receipts. And you're going to see how bad it is. You're going to see how bad it actually is. And almost every big X account that posts the political propaganda is getting paid for it very handsomely. I'm a free market capitalist. Take your paycheck. Not judging you. Well, maybe we are judging you. But we are going to call you out. And let me make one more observation with Olivia here, who I think is 22, 23, a young girl. Olivia got involved because she was a female athlete that was forced to compete with male athletes. So she got involved with Riley Gaines, and she got involved during the election, and her issue was, we don't want to compete against men. She's an athlete. Well, we had such a big tent movement to get Trump across the finish line. We brought in so many young people. We brought in so many people that were kind of just single issue based, forced phenomenons, like an Olivia, a female athlete. Hey, we don't want Democrats to win. We want to protect college sports. It's not to say she doesn't have a diverse political or informed political opinion, but that's what she was introduced in. That's where she came in. That was her introduction. That was her force application. Well, you have to understand, like, even with Riley or even with Turning Point USA, and I've got an example of the Turning Point USA stuff here in a second too. Folks, it was such a big tent thing, and most people are still afraid, and this is why I give Olivia a lot of credit today. Most young people on the right are still somewhat afraid to come out right now. They're afraid because of the backlash from the organizations that they're involved in. They're afraid because of the backlash from this new psychotic woke right Trump cult. And they're afraid that if they speak what they're really thinking or feeling or speak what they're seeing behind the scenes, that they're going to get cut off. And that's why you don't see too much of it. But I think that's going to change because you've brought in so many people now. There are so many young people with Turning Point USA. There are so many young people that got brought in with like a Riley Gaines or these other niche movements that got Trump into office. They don't all think the same. And they definitely don't like war. And they definitely don't like the current status of foreign policy. Now, they're kind of silent right now because they're a little scared. They're not really sure what to do. But I bet you Olivia will not be the last person that comes out and speaks about this. No, I don't think so at all. And you know what? I was going to get into a Turning Point USA thing, but I'm going to run out of time today. But I'll just tell you, there is, I don't know too much about this. I can only go off of some public statements and some stuff that I'm told behind the scenes, but I kind of just don't even want to know right now because it's so nasty. But people are saying there's kind of a generational fight for the direction of TPUSA right now, obviously, after the Void left. And then apparently there's some sort of an issue with people at Turning Point that support Candace, support Tucker. And if you want to know the big secret that maybe they don't even know about yet, a lot of these Turning Point USA kids that are under 23, they all watch Nick Fuentes. So this is kind of like a slow burn, like slow bubble, like slow pot boil right now happening in some of these more mainstream right-wing organizations and groups. But I got the feeling the water is going to start boiling over pretty soon. Probably won't happen until next year. We're starting to see signs of it, but I don't think it fully boils over until next year. But I see it coming. I see it coming. And they just kind of assume that all of these young people that got involved in the movement to help Trump win are all going to think the way they want them to think. And that ain't happening. And it's not going to happen. Just so you know. Just so you know. All right. We got a couple other news stories here. So Mamdani wants to meet with Trump in the White House. Sounds like Trump is interested. Trump signals meeting with Mamdani, says we'll work something out. Even though Trump repeatedly attacked Mamdani, New York City's Democrat socialist mayor-elect, who described himself as Trump's worst nightmare as he ran for office. So, this is good. These two will meet at the White House and watch people freak out. Oh, that's going to be fun. That's going to be fun. When Trump and Mamdani have a meeting and shake hands and are smiling on camera and end up getting along, which I predict will happen, the crashing out will continue. Let's see it. That's going to be a fun one. The only question is, does it happen before or after Mamdani gets sworn in? That's the only question right now. Does it happen before or after the swearing in? But that's going to cause a lot of drama. Now, Mamdani, a lot of conservatives get this issue wrong, and I understand why. A lot of it is the dog wagging or the tail wagging the dog type of thing. So this clip is going around as an attack on Mamdani because of what he said about prisons. Let's listen to this, and let me tell you where the right gets this one wrong.
Are prisons obsolete?
Whew, coming through with the quotes, coming through with the titles of the books. I have to read that, actually. I haven't read that as yet. But I think that, frankly, what purpose do they serve? Right? I think we have to ask ourselves that, which is that, I think a lot of people who defend the carceral state, they defend the idea of it and the way it makes them feel.
Are prisons obsolete?
So here's the main point right here.
But I think that, frankly, what purpose do they serve?
Right.
So there's the main point. What purpose do prisons serve? Well, look, if you don't understand that, then you're probably not qualified to even have the conversation. Okay. So to say what purpose do prisons serve shows that you're so ignorant, you shouldn't even be involved in the conversation. Now, here's the problem. The right has had this issue forever, and it's maybe worse than it's ever been right now as far as the establishment right is concerned, but they're losing power. The right has this brain function failure. Like we see on the left, where it's like, hey, Trump says air is good, so a leftist puts a plastic bag over their head and stops breathing air. Or Trump says, don't eat dog shit, and then they go, eat a bowl of pile of dog crap. So the right kind of has the same issue. It's not as blatant, it's not as glaring, but yet it's still there. They still have this reactionary issue where they're just oppose anything on the left. That's a lot for probably half the people that support Israel. That's why, because they see the left as anti-Israel, so they just think, oh, I have to be pro-Israel. So you still have this tail wagging the dog on the right. You still have the same psychological phenomenon on the left where they're just going to oppose anything that they see. Same thing happens on the right. Perfect example with the prison thing. Now, is Mamdani right? Do prisons have no purpose? No, he's obviously wrong. But right-wingers don't understand the direction. The prison complex, the private prison industrial complex, and the agenda that prosecutors have to get a conviction rate, and the agenda that a judge has to fill the jails and the prisons is bad. It's not good, folks. Justice in this country is severely damaged, sometimes dead. And until you've been through the process, you can't even comprehend how bad it is. I, unfortunately, have been through the process multiple times. I've seen how bad it is. The vast majority, well, I don't know. I can't say the vast majority. A large portion of people in prison do not belong there, period. Now, that's not to say that they don't deserve punishment. That's not to say that they don't deserve some form of paying for the things that they've done. They do, but they don't belong in prison. It serves no purpose. I've seen it firsthand. And there are many other ways that you can handle justice and punishment in this country without just putting people in prison to rot. And most of these prisons are so bad, it's unbelievable that they would force somebody with a misdemeanor, nonviolent offender, to live in some of these swallerous conditions, but yet they do. So no, there is actually massive justice reform, and there is actually massive prison reform that this country needs. And just because the left goes to the extreme and says empty the prisons, and just because the left goes to the extreme and says there's no use for prisons, doesn't mean the right has to have the extreme response to that. And this is where the right fails so many times. And this is why the right fails to maintain power in this country, because they end up becoming the dog getting wagged by the tail. And instead of reaching their own conclusions about justice reform, instead of reaching their own conclusions about prison reform, they just react to the left, and they want to do the equal opposite reaction to the left, which is actually not popular and has failed this country. So yes, actually, we do need prison reform. Actually, we do need justice reform. And if the right wants to ignore that, and if the right wants to push back on that and go to the extreme right, more prisons, more people in jail, then they'll never be able to maintain power. And they just continue to be part of the pendulum. Speaking of jail, Antonio Brown, you may remember him, whether from football fame or supporting Trump during the last election cycle, or maybe the CTESPN. Well, he's in trouble again. Yikes. Somebody help this man stay out of trouble. Might be a prison now. Antonio Brown may face up to 30 years in prison if convicted of attempted murder with gun, prosecutor says. The incident allegedly involving Brown occurred in May. Folks, this is not looking good. In fact, it's so bad. They basically had to admit that he fired the gun, but that he was not shooting at anybody. When that's your defense, you're in trouble. If your lawyer determines that's your best defense, you're in trouble. And I doubt Antonio Brown is poor. Former NFL star Antonio Brown could face up to 30 years in prison if convicted of murder with a gun charge, prosecutor said Monday. Brown was formally aligned in Miami-Dade Circuit Court via video. His lawyer, Mark Eiglarsh, repeated that Brown already entered a not guilty plea. He was released from jail last week on a $25,000 bond and was required to wear a GPS ankle monitor. Antonio, don't leave that space. Don't do it. Is anybody telling you this, Antonio? Don't do it. They'll get you. The attempted murder charge against the Super Bowl champion carries a maximum 15-year prison sentence in many cases, but Assistant State Attorney Stephanie Cruz said that because Brown was accused of using a gun, he could face double that time because of a firearm sentencing enhancement. The law also carries a possible 20-year minimum sentence upon conviction. Brown, 37, is accused of grabbing a handgun from a security officer after an incident following a celebrity boxing match in Miami in May. Brown allegedly fired 2 shots at a man he had gotten into a fistfight with earlier that night, according to an arrest warrant. The alleged victim, Zulkarnain Kwambe Nantambu, told investigators one of the bullets grazed his neck. Brown's attorney, Eiglarsh, said in a previous hearing that the affidavit was mistaken and that Brown used his personal firearm and the shots were not fired at anyone. Brown had previously stated on his social media that he was defending himself from people who were trying to steal jewelry from him. Now, he was in Dubai. Upon returning is when the arrest warrant came out. I don't know if those two things are connected. But you're getting into a fight of fact now. And I think it would go like this. If they can prove that Antonio Brown did not steal the gun from the security guard, and did not fire that gun, but fired his own gun in self-defense, then he might be able to beat these charges. Because it looks like that's the angle they're taking. So if that's the angle they take, and Brown's defense can beat that angle, I think that he can beat this case. So that's going to be an interesting one. And if he takes the charge, will Trump bail him out? I wonder. I wonder about that. By the way, there's all kinds of investigations happening into sports gambling. And you know what? I gave you a perfect example of what not to do, gambling in sports last week. We'll explain it. Look at this. The amount wagered on sports in 2018 was $6.6 billion. Last year, it was $148 billion. And as it's continuing to get legalized in more states, that number is only going to increase. So you can imagine the insider betting and the rigging and everything that happens when the numbers are that big. You can only imagine. Now, for those of us in the audience, to my degenerate gamblers or for fun gamblers, we're not judging. Or novice gamblers that are looking for a lesson. What do you do? What do you not do? Last week, I gave you the perfect lesson of what not to do when gambling. And I hate to admit this, but it's true. Now, this is why I don't like giving gambling advice, but you know what? Maybe someday we will for fun. We're looking at that. I'm not going to lie. We're looking at that. We've got some offers, some gambling sites that want to sponsor the show. We're considering doing it for fun. For fun. People get a little testy with that stuff, but you know what? Usually that doesn't bother me. We're considering it. But we showed you the fatal mistake, what to never do when gambling last week. And if you were there, you may remember. So Sam Darnold came out, quarterback for the Seahawks last week, and he made an leftist propaganda statement. He was like, hey, you can't force us to put political propaganda on ourselves. That's wrong. So I said, I want to bet the over on everything Sam Darnold just because he said that. But if you remember, I looked at it and I said, Sam Darnold, he's going up against the Rams this week. This is not good. All signs indicate that Sam Darnold, everything is going to be under this week. Playing the Rams, I don't like Sam Darnold this week at all. But you know what? Because he made that statement, my emotion, my heart tells me to bet with Sam Darnold. Never bet with your heart. Never let your emotions and your heart trick you into making a bad bet. Bet with your head. My head was right. Darnold and the Seahawks got crushed this weekend. I don't even know if Darnold threw for 100. My head was right. My heart said, oh, Sam Darnold, you said something against the woke left. I want to bet on you, even though my head says it's a dumb bet. I can't say never bet with your heart, but rarely, if ever, bet with your heart. That was just a prime example that we gave you this weekend. A prime example of that. Speaking of a heart, or maybe stopping one, did you hear about this story in Texas? I want to play this for you. This is a wild one in Texas. And there's a lot of things to be debated when you hear this story about a man and who gets to decide whether a woman gets an abortion or not. This is a very complex one. Just listen to this breakdown.
So in Texas right now, a man is facing capital murder charges for doing the exact same thing the law calls healthcare when a woman does it. He was just arrested for slipping abortion pills into his girlfriend's drink and she miscarried. Now pause right there. If she had gone and taken those same pills on her own, legally it would not have been called murder. But because he did it without her consent, they're charging him with murder. So which is it? Either abortion is murder or it isn't. You can't have it both ways. This case literally proves the system knows it is taking a life, because if it wasn't, you couldn't call this murder. And the crazy part is that we say it's all about a woman's choice. But where's the man's choice? Where is the father's choice? He had one, and now because he acted on his own, they're admitting exactly what the pro-life movement has said from the start. Abortion ends a life. This is massive because it exposes the double standard. If the mother chooses it, it's healthcare. If someone else chooses it, it's murder. You can't change the definition of life depending on who makes the decision.
Nothing more to add to that. Nothing more to add. I think that sums it up quite nicely, actually. Hey, have you heard about this? Atelier Messeur, classical foundry in Paris, on its way to building a new Rome. They make this announcement. This is interesting to me, from their X account. After months of hard work, we're proud to unveil the statue we'll build to honor the 250th anniversary of the United States, the Guardian of Liberty. What you see here is just the scale model. The real one will be gigantic, the tallest statue in the West. So many people have offered to fund it, but the real challenge will be getting visas so we can build it on American soil. Finishing it in less than a year won't be easy, but as Napoleon said, impossible is not French. Will this actually happen? I'd like to see this. That would be pretty magnanimous. Should this end up happening. Now, as we do approach the 250th bicentennial celebration, I think we still have merchandise at owenschroyer.store, by the way. Do we have our bicentennial merchandise up? We do. We do at owenschroyer.store. Our bicentennial merchandise is up. As we've expanded the store right now until 2026, by the way. We've expanded the store until 2026, and then we will have a storefront. We'll have a lot of changes on the storefront. We do still have the bicentennial merch up there. I want to direct you. This is not paid. Let me make sure I get this website right. I think it's, let me type this in first. Yeah. Okay. America250.org. Here, let me walk you through this process. Let me give you some great advice here. This is not a paid promotion. Not a paid promotion. But the White House got something really right. They got something really right. All right. If you go to America250.org, this is what pops up. So a bunch of information you can find on here about America 250 and the celebrations and where you can get involved and find some cool stuff. So if you go here to the store, all right, here we are at the store, and go down right here to the new arrivals. You just go right here. The White House has come out with this. This is a product of the White House. They just released this, ladies and gentlemen. They just released this. The official commemorative ornament of America's 250th anniversary celebration. They've just released this. As you can see, it comes in this nice decorative case here. Do they get into the, 24 karat gold finish, ladies and gentlemen. It comes with an official certificate. And then here is your ornament. Now, why am I telling you about this? I purchased some of these today. I purchased a few of them today. One is going to go on my Christmas tree. I'm going to gift a few to friends and family, and then I'll probably keep one as a keepsake that I'll never even open. I'm telling you this because I'm guessing this thing sells out fast. I'm guessing this thing sells out fast. I don't really track products on this site to know how fast or if and when things sell out. But I do track stuff in political products, let's say, and stuff like this usually sells out fast. It usually sells out fast. And this was something I thought the White House really got this right. The White House really did an incredible job. The Declaration of Independence in a 24 karat gold frame as a White House ornament. There's the backside of it, the White House with the original flag and then the current flag. So this is officially from the White House. They got this one right, folks. This is beautifully done. So I thought enough of it to buy a couple of these. I'm going to be giving them away as gifts. There's a teaser for people that are going to get gifts from me. But I have a feeling this one's going to sell out fast, so I wanted to let you know, in case you have FOMO out there, to get involved. Oh, it's not even showing you? Here, let me fix that. Let me fix that for you. There you go. There it is right there. So you had to hear my description of it, but there it is right there. There's the official commemorative ornament of America's 250th anniversary celebration. America250.org. Go to the store. Again, not a paid promotion. But if you like Christmas ornaments and you like things that are tastefully done, this is both. This is both of them. Great job by the White House putting this out, 24 karat gold. I have a feeling this one's going to sell out fast, folks. So I wanted to let my audience know so you can get in on it before it sells out. And it is getting closer to Christmas. We hope you'll shop our sponsors for your Christmas gifts this year. And I don't like the Christmas stuff before Thanksgiving. I'm not a fan of the Christmas stuff before Thanksgiving. Like, let's get through Thanksgiving, and then immediately after, I'm okay with it. That's why you do the Black Friday shopping and everything. Like, it's like, okay, we wait till Thanksgiving, and then we are all on board for Christmas. But I guess, what are we, like a week away now from Thanksgiving, I think? A week or so away. And here, let me look that up. It's not this week. I'd be tripping. Yeah, it's we're about 10 days away. So I'm starting to get that Christmas itch, though. I'm starting to get that Christmas itch. But we got to get through Thanksgiving, and then it makes it even better. Once we get through Thanksgiving, then you play the Christmas music, then you do the Christmas shopping. I guess you got to start the Christmas shopping early. Okay, I'll sacrifice that. But no Christmas music, no Christmas decorations, not here until after Thanksgiving. All right? Let's show some decorum. Let's show some patience. That does it for today's Owen Report. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. Thanks to our sponsors, Blackout Coffee, Allegiance Gold, and CHOQ Supplements. Do your Christmas shopping with our sponsors or at owenschroyer.store. We take a 21-hour break. We'll be right here, same time, same channels tomorrow. God bless and Godspeed.